So this part of the podcast is actually being said at the very end, but I feel like I should put it at the beginning. I really appreciate all the comments and the feedback you leave for my opinions and podcasts and stuff like that. And I really like reading these long, and insightful comments on these videos. And I like that you guys can freely disagree with me, and you don't have a problem with disagreeing. And the reason I really like you guys, you aren't afraid to let your opinions go, and I'm not afraid of other people in the comment section like berating particular people. And that's what I really like about you guys, the community that is watching these videos, is that you guys have full reign to say whatever you want. And you guys are mature enough emotionally that you don't need to be incendiary in what you say. And I really respect that. And so if you have any comments that you disagree with or you agree with and you want to talk about, comment on whatever you want to, on what you have addressed before that I didn't answer or you want me to answer. And if you want my feedback, just say, reply to me at the beginning of your comment. And then I might make a separate video addressing comments, because I do want to address, engage with you guys more, because, my channel is growing and there's more comments and I love it so much. But I don't know which ones to comment. So if you want me to comment or answer you in a video, what my opinions were on this and that, let me know, reply to me at the beginning of your comment, and I'll pick a handful, maybe at random. Just make sure you don't fuck around and say something really stupid. Just like, I want to have some good comments be in the spotlight and see if I can engage and, please them with some answers. So that's what I'm addressing first. So prepare yourself if you want to do that. I'd be down for it. Like I said, you guys are fantastic. I know there are points, and I was actually waiting to do like a 6,000 subscriber special, but I was thinking of getting my friend who also does videos to record me like at face to face, but we couldn't really get together and do that. And now I'm already at 6,200, so I can't really make a significant 6,000 subscriber video. So this is going to be the best thing. Just a big thank you for you guys. Like, I know some of the content I make is kind of like inflammatory to a point, and sometimes I kind of don't really do any favors by kind of provoking like awakening fanboys just to fuck around with them, and I kind of drop back with the excuse, yeah, well, it's my channel, I can do what I want. Sometimes that's kind of not the best attitude to have, and I do get carried away sometimes, but for the most part, you guys are so mature and you're so helpful and like you're so engaging and so nice, and I feel so proud to say that I have a community that is so mature to the point where even if they have disagreements with other people, they're totally chill about it. Like they understand, and I guess that's the audience I kind of attract by just kind of being like, I like to think I know what I'm saying, and I'm kind of a smart ass, and you guys are also kind of snarky too, and it's like it's all fun and games, and it's all positive. And even if it's disagreeing, it's like, okay, I understand what your opinion is. I get it. And like, it's great. It's great. There's no fanboy-ish kind of comments that are going on. And that's what I love. And I think that's kind of what ended up being like the natural result of my kind of content, was that like, I'm anti-fanboy, like I'm anti like waifu, I'm anti-shit. So it kind of like pushes those kind of people away. Not that I don't want them to be around, but they're just this isn't really the place for them. To be purely fanboyish and like be really loud and obnoxious. Like the people who commented on my Awakening review aren't the people who are still here. The people who listened to that review and thought it was funny, thought it was whatever, are still here. And that's great, because I really like you guys and I really appreciate your time that you dedicate to listening to my stuff and watching my stuff and being entertained by it. It really means so much to me. Anyway, I'm rambling. So yeah, if you have anything to say, then reply to me and I'll try to get to you in another video. And thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening and for, having fun watching it. It makes me happy to know that I'm brightening your guys' moods. It's something I've always wanted to do on YouTube, and it's just fun. It's fun being able to share my honest opinion and not worrying about people who take it the wrong way. And that's something else I guess I should finish off with before I actually get into the podcast, was I'm comfortable with being able to say what's on my mind about Fire Emblem. And even if my opinions aren't, well enough or well thought out enough, you guys understand, you're willing to like correct me if I'm wrong, or try to see things from my perspective, or persuade me to see through your perspective. And that's really great. And I really like that I have people who are like that in the comment section. And it really makes me happy. So thank you so much for everyone who's been paying attention, who's been subscribing for a long time. It really warms my heart. And yeah, so without further ado, here comes the absurdly long and hopefully enjoyable podcast. Thank you for listening. Hey, what's going on, guys? Gas Station here, bringing you the final Fire Emblem Conquest Lunatic podcast. There is a lot of content to cover here because the game is over. I finished it, and yeah, there's lots of stuff to talk about. So let's begin with where we last left off. Was chapter 22, which was Sakura. And what are my thoughts? Okay, so this chapter was like surprisingly easy, but I kept underestimating it, and the reinforcements kept catching me, even though I knew they were coming. Like, this is a thing that I've really started to really click in for me while playing Fire Emblem Conquest, especially, is that reinforcements are all, for the most part, area events. What I mean by that is, like, if you walk in a certain like grid, or like a certain like X by Y area that covers a certain amount of space, usually like in a doorway or wherever there's a fort, or whenever you trigger an event, which I'll talk about later, you get reinforcements will appear. And I saw that's coming, and every time I was like, okay, I'll take care of the reinforcements. And that's what I tried to do, and I don't know, I just kept slipping, and I kept getting killed by these dumb mistakes that I kept making. Like, it was all my mistake. Every time I lost was I didn't look at a skill, or I didn't check the enemy inventory. It was just because the chapter felt really easy, because it was pretty predictable and pretty like easy to like take your time in. And I just kept messing up. It was really frustrating to just keep dying all the time for like just no reason. I was just not playing at my level in that chapter, and kept losing. And then I got to the final sort of area with those turret guys, the mechanists, the shuriken mechanist guys on the machine, and I killed both of them, and then I took over that fort, and then it triggered a bunch of reinforcements, and oh my god, there were so many. There were actually so many reinforcements there, and I actually couldn't do anything about it. Like, I tried, but it was just overwhelming amounts of reinforcements. And this was the playthrough where I had actually split my armies, where I had one side taking care of Hana and the other side taking care of Sabaki. And after I beat Hana easily with Mozu, because like, it doesn't matter how fast you are. If Mozu has quick draw and certain blow and skill +2 and a capped skill, like, it doesn't matter how fast you are. Like, you're gonna get hit. And so she got owned, like she always does. And so I get to the mechanists, and I seize this thing there, and I wait a turn, and then all these reinforcements come out of when reinforcements were probably going to come, but I was not expecting such overwhelmingly amounts of reinforcements. Like, it was actually absurd how much reinforcements came, and I got overwhelmed super quickly. So then I was like, well, this sucks. And I was trying to train Kaze because I wanted a shuriken user, and Kaze was really falling off for me. Like, I barely used Kaze. He was level 17. I was ready to promote him, but honestly, I was like, maybe there's someone else I can use. This Master Seal I bought because I was planning on using him, but honestly, like, his strength was so low, and I know he gives a speed boost as a support unit, which I understand, but I feel like Niles does the same thing, probably less of a speed boost, but he also gives res. And I just find that, like, Niles ended up so much more useful than Kaze, and I'll explain why later. So that was my first almost finished run through, was splitting my army, which is a terrible mistake because the enemies are just so strong, and once you get overwhelmed like that, there's no way. Like, there's just straight up no way. For me, at least. Like, my team, I guess, might not have been optimized. I always assume my team is optimized because I have just every unit on my team can just trump any, like, Hoshido unit in particular. Like, just anyone. So I lost badly. It was kind of ugly. So then my second run through, I pushed everyone to the left side, and then that's when I started to keep dying for like stupid reasons, and it was really frustrating. It was just annoying because like the enemy, like the reinforcements are predictable, and you know it's coming, and I just kept messing up, and I was like, there's no reason for me to keep messing up, so it was all my fault. So my winning strategy was pretty much grinding Corrin's X rank to C, because that was my main goal, to get Corrin's X rank to C. Because I feel like as a physical unit, Hero is probably the best combination for him. Because first of all, my Bane was magic, so he wasn't getting any magic. His caps are like not, I feel like his caps aren't great for a nor noble. Maybe I'm wrong, but they just felt like kind of meh. Maybe he has higher skill and res or something, but I just feel like if you're going to be a physical unit, why not have all your options available? The Beast Stone, I like it, but if it deals magic damage, my Bane is magic, and he has magic tomes, and my Bane is magic, there's no reason for me to stick with Nor Noble. The defense buff is really helpful, just because it gives you, like the Dragon Stone, it gives him 4 def, and the plus gives him 9. But I mean, with Camilla, he gets a defense boost too, and I feel like he's less limited when he's just locked to swords like that. So that's why I wanted to bring him to Hero, because I knew he was going to learn Soul, and I knew he was going to learn, I knew he was going to be able to use the dual club against Ryoma, and just that would be fucking super helpful. Anyway, so also the dual club is really helpful against magic, because it reverses the triangle, and then Corrin gets extra evade, which proved super helpful. I find like late game Corrin as a hero is just like god mode. Like, I'll tell you why. Anyway, so yeah, my winning run was actually getting Camilla to lunge the Omioji. Like, I'm just gonna call Hoshiden Mage because I don't know how to pronounce that. The Hoshiden Mage. I baited her with a unit that couldn't use range attacks, and then I lunged that mage to get into Sakura's room, and I was partnered with Benny. So Benny tanked that shuriken guy, took that guy out, and then took out Sakura, because Benny's the beast, and he didn't even get hit. So I took out those turret guys, and then I baited the Oni Savage that was with Hannah, and then I lunged one of the Oni Savages to get Camilla back into the fray. And then I pretty much just cleared out that space. I got Corrin to use like a hand axe. But those guys on the wall there, I took them out with somebody. I think it might have been Camilla or Benny or anyone with range. And then afterwards, I ambushed Yukimura, and I beat him easily with Mozu again. And then I kind of waited out to see how many reinforcements I can take out before I got overwhelmed. And that's what I did, and then I beat the chapter. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard chapter. It was just like, don't split your armies because you're going to get overwhelmed somehow. And you need like your best units to take out Yukimura quickly. Or you need your best unit your highest skilled unit to take out Hannah, because she's fast as shit. So that's what I did. I don't really see the point in trying to split your armies. And this is something I really don't like about Conquest, is that there are many times where you can split your options and split your armies, but it feels like it's such a not viable option to do ever, because like if you split your armies and there's 2 bosses and like you have to like split your heavy hitters on each side so they can do damage. It's like, yeah, but it feels like the enemy has their own entire army to use with themselves. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because my team wasn't optimized enough or didn't have enough heavy hitters to like keep up with a split army. But this is the problem I had in chapter 13, was I could try to go for Orochi and Takumi, but that means that like my heaviest my boss killer in Mozu is like on a split side. Yeah, I just feel like splitting armies is such a bad idea in this game. Like the enemies are always so strong, and if you're fighting sorcerers, then you're toast, because oh my god, sorcerers are actually OP as shit in this game. Their magic is so high. It's so tough to take care of them, but thankfully their speed is pretty slow, so that's good. As for script, let's take a look at this. I don't think I had a problem with this script. Sakura seems okay as a character. I don't like crybabies. I was never a fan of like crybaby. Like their characters, they cry a lot and they're kind of like soft and shit. It's not really my thing. That's why I really hated Naomi a lot in FE8. Like I absolutely hated her as a character. She was just such a pansy. And I get that she's like this crying like young girl who cries a lot, but that's just, I don't like those kind of characters. Even when they like develop into like more mature people, I'm just like, wow, but you just sucked at the beginning. Like I can't get over how much you suck. Like it sounds kind of bad, but I just don't like those kind of characters. And I understand that like Sakura tries her best, but she kind of just comes off like Naomi in the sense that like she just kind of can't help but cry all the time, and that's just really annoying. It's a really annoying trait for me. I don't really like that in characters, and I understand that she probably develops in her supports, but you need a first impression for me, and that just isn't really there. Yeah, I don't really think there was a problem with the writing here. I'm just kind of skimming through the script because this might have been like a week ago. Because the rest of the end game took me fucking forever. Yeah, she's kind of ballsy enough to like try to take down or try to protect her kingdom, which she should be doing since she's a princess and she trained for it. So I respect that about her. And then Hans comes in and kind of fucks with him and screws around, and then Yago swings by and they all mess around. But I think there was a line here about Xander. Oh yeah, here it is. Hoshiden dies, then Sakura's like, no, please don't kill anyone. Habakushi starts crying. Avatar says, Yago, that's enough. And then Xander tells Yago to like, he'll kill him. I am not known to make light of serious matters, Yago. I refuse to harbor a cruel and spineless general of a proud Norian army. As crown prince, I will not hesitate to strike you down in honor of Nor. And then Garon comes in, and then Xander's like, it cannot be, father. But my father, Xander was just, did I not make myself clear, disobey and die? And then, yes, father. And then Xander's like, understood. And I'm like, I'm trying to make sense of this one line, but it really just comes off. I understand that in the end game, Xander's like, I had to like swallow my pride and like follow my father's orders in hopes that he would become a better person. But it really comes off like this, like Xander is actually just kind of spineless. Like he's pretty spineless for a Norian prince, even though in his supports with with Corrin, I think he was like, even though my father would be like uppity, I learned to stand up to him. And I feel like this would be a really, like, it would obviously change the story progression as it went. But if Xander actually had balls, and if he came off and he was written like he would have balls instead of just saying understood, like a coward, then I would respect him more in the main story. But for this, it's like, Xander is supposed to be like the crown prince who should be autonomous enough and not afraid of his own father to the point where he just like, every time his father threatens him, Xander will just cower in fear. I just don't like that aspect about him when he is established in his supports, that he is so much more autonomous and like a pillar. Like he seems like so much more of a pillar in his supports. And I think it has to do with the fact that there was a different support team. I think I heard there was a different support team writing supports rather than this main story. And it's really apparent in shit like this, where Xander comes off in his supports like this really amazing, like Fire Emblem character, like straight up, like such a classic Fire Emblem, like a prince that's like super dedicated and super wise and stuff. And then in this main story, he's kind of like a bitch. Like he just comes off like a bitch. And maybe it's because like I said, in the end game, he says I tried to like accept him and try to follow his orders. But if that's the case, then would he really be opposed to Yago saying like, or would he really be saying the Yago to shut up and I'll kill you? If you like, because I feel like if obviously these orders are from Garon, then if that's the case, then I feel like maybe like Xander would be like, Okay, fine. Like, it's because of my dad. I know you ordered it because of your dad, and you are his like subsidiary. So you can't like you're not gonna do anything that's not what Garon wants. So I guess that is his orders, and I'll follow it because I believe in him or something. But it really just comes off like, I don't know if that made sense. But it just comes off that Xander is actually a bitch. And it's just like he doesn't do anything in Garen's presence, and he's scared of him, even though his supports say he's not. I mean, he's still concerned about him, and he's still like a formidable force, but he's established as someone who should be able to stand up to him. And when I compare a support Xander with main story Xander, I feel like there's this huge disconnect in like how ballsy he is. Maybe someone else agrees, maybe someone else disagrees, let me know. But to me, it just seems like Xander seems so different in his supports than in his main story, which is kind of frustrating to deal with. Because I don't know which one to believe in. That's the thing. Like, I don't know which one I want to believe in, and which one's like, they're both like canon, obviously, but their personality wise just seems like there's one Xander and then there's another Xander. And I very much prefer the support Xander, because I feel like his supports are one of the best in Conquest, hands down. But as a unit, he's a god. Because in the next chapter, Xander is like my only useful unit. In Possessed. Oh yeah, so all around chapter 21, it was I forgot about the gimmick too. The Dragon Vein gimmick was, I fucking didn't use it once. Like, I just didn't use it at all ever, because I had my armies in one side because I didn't want to die. So if you pour everyone on one side, the Dragon Vein is totally worthless. I didn't not use it once. It just felt like another. I mean, for me, I ignored it again, and that's how I like my Dragon Veins, when I can just ignore them at all times. And that still holds through the entire game. Is, do I need to use this Dragon Vein? No, I'm not using it. Zest. This chapter sucks. In Lunatic, it's ass. I do not like Possessed at all. So basically, this chapter has a good idea, I think. It's like, okay, you start off and there are lunge trolls. So annoying. Those Bosaras are so fucking annoying with their lunges. At the beginning, I thought maybe I should just head left, take down those archers with counter and lunge, and then those Bosaras with lunge and rally. So I tried doing that. I got through after a try or two. I got through that round of guys, took out the reinforcements there, and then I was against Hinata. And my god, that was just too hard for me, man. Hinata was just too good. Like, he wasn't good because Benny could tank, but what was really frustrating is that Benny could take on all those guys, except there was a death blow, or life and death swordmaster or whatever. And then there was a seal defense spearman. So there was no way Benny could survive, because once he gets seal defended, people can do damage, and the life and death samurai or whatever can just eat him. So that strategy wasn't working out ever at all. And I was like, well, crap. So I can't go left, because if I'm not careful going left, the lunge trolls will get me. And then if I keep going, there's no really good way with my unit setup that I could take on Hinata right now, which kind of sucked. So I was like, okay, so I guess I should just go up first. So I went up the chasm there, and I captured the Master of Arms, and his name ended up generated as Ren. So Ren was my Master of Arms, my rally man that I finally captured, which I was very pleased about. Oh, I forgot about the Paralogues, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that later, because they're actually pretty impressive. I like the Paralogues, the ones I played at least. So anyway, yeah, I capture the guy, and then I keep going, and I clear out that kind of the middle, the other side of the chasm enemies there. And then the rallymen come as reinforcements, and then I beat those guys as well. So it's pretty good. And the issue comes with the fucking wall. It's so annoying. Like, basically, in Lunatic, I know someone told me on hard mode that there's no Basaras that are covering the upside of the stairs. So you can go up the stairs in 2 directions or 4 entryways. But in Lunatic, the right entryways are totally sealed off and you need to kill them first. So you only have 1 or 2 left side entryways. And on the left side, there are lunge spearmen. So they have seal defense and lunge. And there's 3 of them. So if you get lunged and brought over to Oboro, you're fucking done. Which sucks. So there's no way. You have to take out one of the Basaras on the stairs. Otherwise, you just straight up die in the first turn. Because there's no way you can live. Like, Xander will just get totally destroyed. Because Xander was my pillar this chapter. Xander and Camilla paired up were just... What I did was... I actually brought Hinoka back for this chapter so he can get seal defense. Or, sorry, rally defense. So I had rally defense. And... I rally defensed, I made Xander wait a turn, and then I danced Xander so he can get a rally buff, speed, luck, and res buff. Was it speed, luck, and res? It was skill, speed, and luck. That's what it was. So I gave him that buff, and then paired him up with, and then got him on Camilla, and then ferried Xander over the lamppost pillar thing on the wall, so he can take out a Basara on the right side. So he takes out that Basara, or it's the far right side. He takes out the far right Basara. They all approach. I bring Xander down from the staircase, and then I dance and rally defense him and do it over and over and over and over and stick to the right side, because if you go left, then you get lunged and seal defensed, and then Oboro's right there waiting to eat you alive. So that's what the whole chapter ended up being. It was so limited and constraining. It was like, I have one strategy, it felt like. Because I need someone who can take out the Basaras quick, otherwise I fucking lose. And then it's just like, go right, and then for Lunatic, you can't alternate right and left, because if you go left, then the spearmen are there. So you have to like go right, and then get the guys moving, and then kill one of them or 2 of them or whatever. And then you just do it over and over and over until you clear out the spearmen. And after you clear out the spearmen, you bring everyone up, and you take out Oboro in like 1 or 2 turns. And that's what I did. And it's just, I have such an issue with this chapter is because it felt so constraining. Like, I had one strategy, and I asked my friends, like, guys, what did you do? And they were just like, I just cheesed with Xander. And I feel like designs that do that is just so not good. Like, it's just not fun. And that's the thing. It's like, it might be challenging, sure. Like, every map is like pretty challenging, but it's like, is this fun? That's the thing, is like, am I having fun with this chapter? Like, are you designing this chapter with people having a fun time in mind? Is it really fun to low man a chapter? And it's not. Like, it's fun to see one unit totally rip into an entire army, sure. And seeing your experience paying off, and like seeing his good growth paying off, and having someone just trash a chapter and like just totally wrecking an entire army with one unit. That's one thing, but then depending on a single unit for one single strategy, that's the only thing that seems to work, and rinsing and repeating in such a stupid and boring tactic in going up the stairs, baiting, killing him, going down the stairs, getting charged up, going back up, doing the same thing over and over. It's like, this is boring as fuck. This is so fucking boring. Like, that's all it came down to. It was just so goddamn boring. And it was just not fun. It was an anti-fun chapter. So I clear out everyone, beat Oboro. It was just, I was like, thank God. And then I accidentally had Flora in range of a sniper on the platform where Takumi was. So Flora in a snipe shot got killed. I lost Flora, which was really shitty. That sucked really bad. But I was honestly like, I don't want to play this again. I captured the rally man. Flora's gone. Big deal. I mean, it was kind of a big deal because she's a really good unit. I feel like Flora's like the best of Felicia and Jacob. Maybe not Jacob, because I heard Jacob is like, you can solo the game with Corrin and Jacob as a partner because he has a really good skill for him. Corrin had a tough time against Takumi, but I honestly beat him, I guess. I beat Takumi, got the chests, and Yeah, that was pretty much it. That was the chapter, like just trudging through, beating Takumi. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to beat Hinata. So I get Niles on the turret and see if he can like pick off or do chip damage from Takumi's turret on Hinata. And I think that's the point. And this is what I think was really the best part about this chapter, was that the ideal way, like the common way to approach the chapter is just heading left and trying to beat those lunge guys. And this is why I feel like on other difficulties it's way more fun, because it's an interesting idea to discourage the obvious route and then trying to take the alternative and jumping the chasm, and then taking out a burrow, and then alternating and moving with the stairs and understanding how the enemy AI works with the stairs, how they'll chase you, and then if you get off the stairs, they'll go back to their position. I find that's an interesting part of this chapter, and I find what's more interesting is that if the enemies are really strong against Hinata, because they have rally stuff and they have rally skills and stuff. But then if you use the turret, you can chip them down to like lower HP. And I thought that's what they were going for. Like you jump the chasm, you alternate with the stairs, you beat Oboro, then you beat Takumi, and then you fight Hinata last. And you use the turrets to your advantage and take out Hinata's health as you go by. And I thought that's what they wanted to do. It was starting clicking. Like, you notice that if you check the range on Takumi's turret, it's all over that platoon right there with Hinata. So that's what I was assuming what was going to happen. And then I used the turret and it does like no damage. So it was like, okay, I see how it is. I feel like it would be way more interesting if that turret was shuriken turrets. And in that case, these enemies are really strong, but you can debuff their stats after you clear out everyone and save them for last instead of saving them for first. I think that would be a really interesting twist. I don't know how good it is to being forced to backtrack like that. I don't know if that's a really good design, because you should be progressing further as you go along a map and not going backwards and backtracking, especially when it's turn-based and you have to like wait turn to turn to move units. But I feel like that's what they were trying to go for or something. I don't know. It just, that's what it felt like to me. And it would be really nice if that was the case. So you would be really well awarded for thinking, I think, outside the box. Anyway, so I captured the Rallyman and I beat the chapter and I lost Flora, and I was like, that kind of sucks, but I'm not restarting for Flora, even though she's a very good unit. So let's talk about the script here. Possessed script. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really find there's much issue with the whole sort of context of Takumi just really wanting to kill him, and then Leo just being a snarky douche to him. I love Leo so much, man. I love his snarkiness. It just reminds you of myself so much. He jumps. They look for him. So from looking at this draft right now, just skimming through it because I don't want to spend too much time on it, it seems okay, I guess. I think the main issue just comes from the setup, the design of the chapter. I did not like it at all. And again, and then it just comes up with a masterpiece. So let's jump to chapter 24, Hinoka. I think this chapter is honestly one of the best chapters I've ever played in Fire Emblem, especially in this game. I feel like the game for me peaked at 10 and plateaued onto chapter 13 and then fell down and then kind of rose up a bit with chapter 21. But in hindsight, I was thinking about chapter 21 again, and I was like, I relied on luck. I relied on luck big time that chapter. I relied on the Grey Club, which is a visitor item, and I relied on Camilla proccing crits to beat those golems. So in hindsight, I'm thinking, is this a really fair chapter? Is this still doable without Camilla like using the Grey Club? Because I wasn't sure, because that's what I did. That's how I beat the chapter, was I relied on luck, I relied on crits, and to get to the top. And then it was like another sort of story altogether where it was just crazy strategy. But it made me think on how fair that chapter really is on Lunatic if you don't have anything to proc a crit. Oh, he cries. Yeah, Takumi cries. He's like, "Stop, you're a traitor." Oh, it's okay. I don't really mind that his head's being crazy. He's being possessed. He's really emotional. I can buy it. him being like him crying and stuff. Anyway, so Hinoka, this chapter was amazing. Now, this is a really interesting idea for design in the fact that it's so simple. In essence, chapter 24 is pretty much an open space. It's like there's no terrain at all. There's some trees, there's an island, there's another island, but for the most part, it's a wide open area, and the enemies are there waiting for you, and that's pretty much, it's like, this is the map, deal with it. And it's like there is surprises, but it just felt refreshing maybe to see a map that is honestly just an open field and you are just dealing with what happens. I thought it was really cool because the chapter before dealt with these obstacles and the stairs and the Great Wall and these skills that forced you to play like really restrained and stuff. But this map is an open space. There's no corridors. There's no nothing. There's not even terrain bonuses. It's literally just an open field. And what I really love about this chapter was the dragon veins. This might be a little hard for me to explain, but I'll try to do my best. In this level, the dragon veins that she triggers help you. And that's like the first time that's happened, like in this chapter, was that yes, the dragon veins can be used to your advantage even when she uses them. And I don't really remember that being that useful for any other chapter but this one. To the fact where whenever you use the dragon veins, there's always an advantage that you can like profit off of. Whereas in like the wind chapter, it's like, yeah, you can blow the enemies away, but there's a catch. Like, you're getting fucked up too. In this one, it's like you actually feel like you're trumping Hinoka with your own power. Like, she does her dragon vein, well, guess what? I'm doing my dragon vein, and it totally trumps her, and then it puts you at a huge advantage. But the catch is that it also puts the enemies at a great advantage as well. But the fact that you can kind of take advantages of these dragon veins in both enemy phase and ally phase, like she does her dragon vein at the end of her turn, and then it's like deal with these flyers, but you have your own flyers yourself, and they can take advantage of of her actions. And I feel like that hasn't happened for dragon veins yet, and the fact that it finally did, where you could actually like use the dragon veins to your advantage that she procs, that like she activates, it's super good. And it just, and my team was amazingly optimized for this chapter. I reclassed Leo into a sorcerer because I wanted him to learn Vengeance and Bowbreaker. And so that's when I finally did the Paralogues. I'll cover the Paralogues last because I still want to talk about the campaign because this is going to be a long one. Chapter 24, Sorcerer Leo absolutely trashed those Pegasus Knights coming from the top right, from that island there. So I brought Leo and Kana, and I feel like Kana kind of became like my support unit rather than like a frontline unit. So Kana was up there, and she helped Leo get his skill and speed, and I think maybe defense. And he was basically just taking on all those Pegasus Knights and those Hoshina mages by himself. So he was taking care of that and pretty much buying me time to move advance. At that time, I had Gazak, who I captured and bribed. Gazak, Xander, and Corin, and they were like traveling up between the left island and like the right island, and they were kind of moving upwards slowly. And pretty much they were kind of taking their time there and waiting for Pegasus Knights to come by. Pegasus Knights started to ignore Leo when they realized they couldn't actually hurt him or damage him, I guess. So they ignored him and then went straight down to Gazak and Xander and Corin. And as that was happening, I had Mozu paired up with, I want to say, Elise for resistance, and she took out those Oni Savages, and then I had my 3 flyers in Shigur, Ignatius, and Camilla. And I got Ignatius and I reclassed him to a Wyvern Lord, because I feel like if I have one Wyvern Lord who's amazing in Camilla, then her son should be, a lesser version of Camilla, but still still a very strong contender as a Wyvern Lord or Wyvern Lord or whatever. So I had those 3 flyers, and I brought them to the bottom left to take care of those three flyers there. And I don't think those flyers have air superiority. I think they had another skill. I think the air superiority flyers come by in a reinforcement, but those 3 I took out, which was really convenient for me. Ignatius is good because he was the only flyer I had with who could use the Beast Killer. Shigur could also use the Beast Killer, but he has bows. So I just had him use his bow, or I stratted the Beast Killer between Ignatius and Shigur to take out those flyers. So I take out those flyers, and the Oni Savages get defeated and the mages get defeated there. So that room is kind of clear. And then it's like mostly me taking my time and making sure I take care of all the flyer reinforcements I can. And it got really stressful when I was in the middle and I triggered Setsuna, I want to say her name is Setsuna, the sniper, and I triggered her movement and she started approaching, and that's when I was like, oh crap, because once she moves, then more flyers come in, I'm pretty sure. So more flyers came in, and I think they came from the bottom, so I had to use a Dragon Vein and slow them down. But when I slowed them down, I attracted Setsuna and all of her guys with now 12 movement. So I was like, oh fuck. I was like, okay, so now the flyers are a non-issue, but now Setsuna is. But then also my units are really good. So when that happened, I moved all my flyers, or I moved Ignatius and Camilla before I moved Shigur onto a Dragon Vein. So Camilla and Ignatius could have use before the Dragon Vein totally strangled them. So I had Shigur. This is one of the craziest parts of the chapter. I had Shigur Dragon Vein the right island Dragon Vein, and I actually used no Dragon Veins for this chapter. I kind of just went with it and just took out the flyers as they came to me because I had an optimized enough team to take care of them. So I didn't really I saved up almost every single Dragon Vein until I really, really needed to. And I think that's the mistake a lot of people make with this chapter, and they find it really hard, is they think that immediately, since Hinoka pretty much buffs the flyers, that they should debuff them immediately. And I don't think people realize that just because they're buffed doesn't mean you're at a total disadvantage. I had 3 flyers who could destroy anyone, destroy any flyer reinforcements that came by. And I had Leo who could take care of his own on the top right, and all the flyers kept trying to kill him, and they lost. And I also had Xander with I guess the Siegfried, and he was just taking care of business. I feel like people are panicking. I feel like it's a really stressful chapter, and if people will panic, the first thing they'll do as they panic is using the Dragon Veins when they shouldn't actually be using it immediately. Because it's a weird sort of thing where you have 3 or 4 uses of the Dragon Vein, and if you try to push forward, you'll be using those Dragon Veins a lot. And I feel like those are things you really need to conserve, and you can't really rush the chapter. I mean, you can rush the chapter, and this is the really cool thing about this chapter, is that there are so many ways to take on this chapter. It's such an open space, and it leaves so much room for possibility, and this is why I really enjoy it. And I feel like a lot of LTCers who would try this chapter would really love it, because there's definitely a way to clear this chapter in 3 turns. With maybe burning, charging a rescue would easily do it. Or just I kind of anything really would maybe sheltering Azura and then switching and then singing again or something like that would definitely do it. But I feel like this chapter has so many options and so many ways to tackle it depending on your unit loadout. I think it's just such a great chapter. Anyway, so Shigeru goes in the Dragon Vein, and then so he Dragon Veins, but one of the flyers has like air superiority and bows. So I was like, oh shit, like Shigeru is going to die if I don't kill this bow, this Kinshi Knight. And I was so worried because I really needed Shigeru, because A, he was my third flyer on this team, and he had good skills, and he had bows, and he was a flyer, so he was super important, and he has like really high potential. Like I think all the kids level up really fast, and Shigeru just seems like a really good unit to me. Like he's really fast, can deal some good power, and has a unique set of skills. So I needed Shigeru. So, and I ended up having, so I think I paired Xander up with someone who can give him 13 move, because he has 12 move with the Dragon Vein buff, and then he gets like an extra move from like someone else. I think maybe like a Paladin or like Niles or someone. So he gets extra move, and he is just in enough range to go from like the bridge and like where the Oni savages were all the way to like the right side of the map where those Pegasus Knights come, and that's like a 13 move thing. And he went from that direction, or he went from that point all the way up there, and he was like, if he was one space in another spot, Shigeru would have been dead. So it was like such a clutch, lucky thing for him to be there, and it was so stressful. It was like, Shigeru could go, and I was like super concentrated, and I got Shigeru into safety because I killed that bow user. Oh my god, it was so stressful. And then Setsuna's crew all came, and I was like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? I need to beat Setsuna now. And this is where Gazak becomes a legend. This guy, with a great club, or any crit weapon ever, lands crits. His bases are fucking insane. Gazak is actually Goto. Like, he's Goto of this game. Like, oh my god, Gazak. He is so... I can't get over how great this guy is. Like, he was like my dude, like, towards the end of the game. Like, after I got him. Holy crap. Like, okay, this fucking guy, like, he has amazing bases. He has amazing base strength, amazing base... He has like 38 base strength. Like, what? That's unheard of. 38 base strength, high defense, super fast, and is incredibly high skill. And on top of that, he has like 61 base HP. And then he learns HP plus 5 and gamble and rally strength and like axe fair. This guy's a god. Like, his damage output was actually absurd. He had a consistent 99% crit rate. And with the Great Club, he could not miss. All he did was crit. He crit Setsuna, ended her, and him and Korin, like, just blocked off, because Setsuna has passed. So after Setsuna got blocked off, or Setsuna died, then Korin and Gazak blocked off all those reinforcements that came. I think Leo miraculously survived a round of just fighting Omi-Ojis or whatever. I'm just gonna call them Omi-Ojis now. So he survived a round against Omi-Ojis, and we all lived, and I was like, how did this happen? Gazak is so clutch. Korin is so clutch. And then, oh my god, it was just so amazing. Like, and Niles ended up capturing 2 flyers in this chapter, and the flyers in Lunatic have pass, and they have A rank in lances and and B rank in, like, or is it C or B? It doesn't matter. Like, the flyers that you can capture in chapter 24 are so good. It's like a combination between an adventurer and a Pegasus Knight. Like, pass and staffs and an A rank in lances? Wow. This is a good capture. So I captured 2 of the flyers, and I was so pleased that I captured those 2 flyers. I survived Setsuna's wrath, the last thing I needed to do, or I survived everyone. Like, there was another crazy clutch moment where like the flyers came from the bottom and that they were dragon veined, and I undragon veined them, and I killed one of them with Mozu, and then I danced Mozu, and then I realized that the flyers were in a position where Mozu can't reach because there's a river there, and I was like, oh crap. There is a Pegasus Knight with a Bolt Naginata that can almost kill Azura. But the thing is that the flyers had what is it? Quick draw? No, quick draw. One of the skills that when they initiate an attack, their effective speed goes up by 5. So when they initiate first, they get +5 speed. And I was like, okay, so who can die here? Rally Bro could die. Azura, since she has high res, can survive with 1 HP left, provided that her skill doesn't make her get doubled, or the Pegasus Knight skill doesn't double her. So I was in a really tough bind in this one part of the chapter where I neglected the range that Mozu could do, and she couldn't reach. No one could reach this one Pegasus Knight. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Because I feel like someone is going to die here. It's going to be either Rallyman Ren, which was his name that was generated, or someone else. And it was like maybe Elise could die or something. And I don't know what, I forget what I did, but I transferred like 3 times, like crazy transfer strats. And I ended up having Ren paired up with Elise, which meant that he got resistance, and the flyer attacked Ren, but since Ren's resistance was buffed, he survived. And I was like, he got doubled and shit, and I was like, oh my fuck, how did this just happen? So that Pegasus Knight didn't kill anyone, and I survived, and I killed the Pegasus Knight, and the only thing that was left was Azama and Hinoka, and I was like, yes. I felt so accomplished now. I saved everyone, no one died, I clutched it out big time, Gazaka's a god, I beat Setsuna, and I survive, and I still have like 2 charges of my Dragon Vein that's left, and it was like, holy crap, this is so much fun. I was like clutching out all over the place, and the real stress, or the pinnacle of this chapter came when I actually had to beat Hinoka. Here's the thing. At this point, I realized how reinforcements truly work in this game. Whenever there's an open space near a significant unit, or whenever there's a door opening, or an event where you can open a door or enter a certain area, or wherever you're near a space where there's like a corridor or stairs, you better prepare for it. So that's what I did, and and obviously this game kind of did this thing where like it kind of hinted at you that reinforcements were coming because there's a Dragon Vein right near Hinoka, and obviously if there's a Dragon Vein right there, then there's reinforcements that are going to appear as that Dragon Vein gets triggered, or as you approach. You have to trigger that Dragon Vein to stop the reinforcements that are coming from like Hinoka's area, which is an obvious thing because why else would the Dragon Vein be right there? So it was kind of like, as a player intuition thing, like there's a Dragon Vein right there, all your enemies are clear, so obviously once you approach Hinoka, those reinforcements are coming. And I was like, yeah, fuck that. So I decided to try to, in one single turn, defeat Hinoka, defeat the Oni Savage that partnered up with Hinoka, and beat the chapter. So what I did was I paired up Camilla with Mozu, I paired up Shigur with Leo, and I paired up I want to say Gazak with Ignatius. And basically what I did was I paired up, so I had 3 flyers and 3 physical units that could do damage. What I did was, to beat Hinoka, I rallied with Rally Bro, and then I sped up, I danced Mozu, got Mozu to pair up with Camilla, and I brought Camilla over and then switched for Mozu, and then Hinoka I think Hinoka triggered Luna, but it wasn't enough. to beat Mozu, and Mozu killed... No, it wasn't Mozu. Maybe it was Mozu. Because I think Mozu, even with... Yeah, I think it was Mozu, because even with the flyer shield, that Mozu's damage output could still be good enough, because she got rally strength and she was paired up with Camilla. So I'm pretty sure she just took out that Hinoka in a single turn, which was fantastic. And for the Oni Savage, I brought Ignatius with Leo, and Leo had an 81% hit chance to deal 2 hits against the Oni Savage, and I needed him to hit. I needed him to connect. Otherwise, I would have been toast. Because I didn't kill Asama, and he had the Hexing Rod. He had 6 uses of a Hexing Rod. So I had to connect. I had to rely on 2 81% for Leo to beat this Oni Savage, and he did it. The fucking guy actually connected 2 hits, beat the Oni Savage, and then I had Shigur with, like, someone, I guess, with... Shigur was in a spot where he could fly and seize the thing. So he flew over and seized the gate, and I was like, yes, no one died. I was like super crazy planning. The Dragon Veins were so good in this chapter because they were so advantageous. There was like a cost and there was also a benefit for each side, and it was so good. It was everything about this chapter was the open space, the fact that there were so many possibilities, the stress, the clutch moments was such an adventure. It was such an adventurous chapter. And on top of that, I captured Tomo and I captured Akane, who were 2 flyers, and I couldn't bribe Akane, so I got Tomo, and Tomo was my girl because she clutched it out at the end, later in the game. It was just such a great chapter. It was so amazing. I feel like it's one of those chapters where if you optimize your team well enough, the chapter becomes so great. Like, it's just, I wish there was footage of it, because I honestly can't even explain how great that chapter was for me. It was so fun. It was so fucking fun. Also, Azama is a Grandmaster. So he gets counter and a weapon, so GG. Let's see. There was something I had. There was one issue I had with his writing. I gotta find it. Okay, this is something I have an issue with. So it seems that Hinoka will be totally devastated if Ryoma died. So she gets a promise from Korin that Korin will let him live. He won't take Ryoma's life. I swear on the Yato of salvation that I will find a way to protect him. So that's one thing. So Hinoka is like, please have Ryoma survive. I can't. The kingdom would be shattered, and I can't deal with him being gone, essentially. And I'm just like, I just don't like how Hinoka still like super believes in Korin, and like how she's still like is super like wanting him to do well and like wants him to be his brother still. It's like, do you realize what Korin has done so far? Like this entire collateral damage thing is his bad. Like, I don't want to harp on this too much because I want to talk about gameplay more, but I just feel that as siblings, that shouldn't, even if you're siblings with the guy who literally is responsible for overthrowing your country, capturing Sakura, whose collateral damage enabled, whose initial damage enabled Hans and Yago and Garon to kill your own people, he should be getting away with a pass because he's your brother. I guess this is more of a personal thing, but like, I'm kind of disappointed that they still hold on to this whole family thing where like in reality, Korin doesn't even know his siblings and they're still treating him like they do. And it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of remember like you were like my siblings, but I barely fucking regret. Like, it seems like Korin doesn't even know he's like, he is Hoshiden. Like, he doesn't even like really understand, or like, he's basically being told he's a Hoshiden sibling because his family is like, dude, you are a brother, even though like he never knew them. And maybe if I was in that position where like I met my family that I was lost from, that
I would feel bad for, killing them. And I guess I would be. What am I trying to get at here? Yeah, it just bothers me that in all, it's like the siblings, Hinoka, even though Sakura's captured, and all of her fucking villagers and citizens are like dead because of Korin, pretty much, whose actions have grave consequences for the kingdom, but they don't really recognize or care. They only seem to care about him being the brother, and it's like, it's really annoying. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, you want my dick, Hinoka, but like, do you see all the shit I'm doing? Like, do you see it? No? Okay. Korin is like, someone had a really good post in the comments that like Korin was all ideals, and like when he behaves in certain ways, it kind of comes off weird, and the characters also rub off on that, and that also comes off weird. It's like, do you realize what this guy is doing to your kingdom? Like, no? Do you just think he's your brother still? It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like in reality, in like a real situation, if I saw my brother, like, if I saw my quote unquote blood brother, because I know, which also really throws me off big time, because I read the birthright supports with the siblings for the marriage options for Korin, and I was like, why do you still think he's your brother still? Like, why do you treat him like a brother? Like, you obviously isn't. Like, spoiler alert, they aren't related. They aren't related. And this is probably not even a spoiler, because obviously they're not going to have incest in a westernized Fire Emblem game. But this is kind of a really annoying point for me, is that even though the siblings know that Korin isn't their blood brother, they make him think he is, and treat him like one, and guilt him as many times as they fucking can, even though he isn't their brother. Like, he just straight up isn't. Like, they aren't blood related. And this is what bothers me, is that like this whole kind of premise was based off, fight for your blood family, or fight for the people you grew up with. Why would I not pick for the people I grew up with when these aren't even my fucking siblings to begin with, and they're guilting me over and over and over with this whole brother thing? It's like, you guys are assholes. Like, you guys are actual assholes. Like, you're guilting me into fighting for someone. Like, we grew up, like just like, now that they're not actual, like, established, not brother and sister by blood, it's like, what right do you have to try to persuade me over to your side? We have the same mother, sure. Do we even have the same mom? No, we don't. We don't even have the same fucking mom, dude. Like, you are like my step siblings. You are my literal step siblings. Like, we aren't blood related. So this whole sort of concept of bonded by blood is like totally out the window. It's like, you can't advertise your game like this, because it's not true. It's like, it's actually not true. Like, you can't manipulate Korin into, it's just like, really, it comes off as super dickish once you find that out. Like, you're gonna try to guilt me for your step siblings? You really think I should give more affection to step siblings I barely know, rather than people who I grew up with? And granted, I was kidnapped. Fuck. Like, these are my actual siblings. Like, these are closer to my siblings than you guys are. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just, it comes off to me like the right path in, like, realizing that the birthright siblings aren't even your siblings. Is like, yeah, Conquest is like the righter path. Like, in that sense, not in the whole sense that you're invading a kingdom. Like, there's definitely flaws with both sides, obviously. And there's a fuck ton of there's a bunch of issues with Conquest's story. But for this one particular case, it's like, why, if Takumi hates Korin, and why would he still call him brother? Like, why? Like, okay, I know I shouldn't be putting myself in the shoes of someone else in a character because they aren't me, but it's just so annoying when you have to like bend over to like the rules of these characters, and it's like, it seems such like a shitty thing to do. Is like, you're blatantly lying to the person you're guilting. Like, you're guilting him with lies, and you're manipulating him. And like, in the other path, you find out that, oh, by the way, you're my stepbrother, and it's totally fine that we bang. I don't like that at all. I feel like it kind of ruins the whole, like once you know that, it's like the stakes are gone. Like, that's what happened to me. Like, I was curious about, how they managed to do this marriage thing. And they find out, oh, this is a letter, by the way. And it's like all the stakes for the whole brother thing and the whole sister thing and come back to us. I knew you were on our side and shit. It's like, for me, it loses all of its weight. It's like, you aren't even my brother. Like, fuck off. So, yeah. They're hung up on a lie, essentially. And they go on with that, which seems really shady for Hinoka. Like, you're my brother, but you're not. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. I know the real truth now. Kind of frustrating. And I'm curious on how, the implications are for in the birthright chapter, or the birthright mode, where it's like Korin finds out by Hinoka or whoever that they aren't related. And it's like, are you telling me you guilted me into this situation knowing that you weren't even my blood family, and you pretty much manipulated me into joining your team and abandoning my actual family I grew up with and who actually loves me and who would not lie to me like this? I would be pissed. I would be super mad. I would be like, are you fucking serious? You made me abandon my goddamn family. Like, you literally made me abandon my family to join your cause, and you aren't even related to me. Like, you straight up lied. This whole fucking concept's a lie, and that really throws me off. It's really shady shit. Anyway, not getting too hung up about it, because I've been rambling about that for like half an hour, so. All in all, the chapter was fantastically designed. It was so simple in its idea. An open space, deal with the gimmick, deal with these crazy amounts of flyers, and it was just, I don't know, maybe my team was just amazingly optimized for it, but I felt so proud of myself pulling off crazy strategies, not having no one die, and surviving and all that shit. It was great. Fantastic. Whew. Now, what's the other one? Ryoma. Again, it's like this. I like the writing, for the most part, I like the writing in chapter 25. Killing Hinoka, tricking Ryoma, it felt like Korin actually came off as really guilty, and he actually kind of felt like a person. For one of the few times in this game, he felt guilty. He felt really like a humane thing to feel, and he had emotion. And not to say Korin doesn't have emotion on the regular, but it just felt like a really powerful scene in the idea that Korin was in a really tough bind, and he had no other choice but to lie, to try to save, and try to clean up his mistake, and try to do what he thought was the right thing. And for the most part, I liked it. The Lance thing was, for me, the Lance thing would be enough to be like, I'm not going to bring you your fucking head. First of all, it's a game. Secondly, it's for kids. And the Lance was kind of like the only real thing that we could use as proof. So I liked that idea. I liked that direction they made. And Ryoma breaks. Ryoma kind of breaks this need for Korin to come back. And this is why I like Ryoma a lot in this scene. I think I might have just said I didn't like him, but I like Ryoma in this scene because he drops this whole brother thing and is straight up like, I'm ending you here. Like, that was a realistic reaction. Ryoma goes in this crazy rage. He wants to avenge his sister. And he's done. He's done with the whole trying to get Korin back on his side. Like, he realizes Korin isn't there for him to... He thinks Korin isn't there to, make amends for anything at the time. And he just wants Korin to die. And, like, that's a very realistic reaction. Like, he is under the assumption that all of his siblings are fucked because of Korin. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. He's like, fuck you. I'm done. I'm done with you. And he tries to kill him. And this is interesting too. Xander, I'm curious if Xander would actually have the balls enough to rebel against Yago and Garon in this scene, because Xander's like, I won't allow it. I shall not stand idly by while you attempt to harm my brother, sister. Soldiers, protect the Avatar from this madman at once. And Yago's like, stand down. And then Yago's like, what's the meaning of this? And then Garon is like, Father, end this, or you will stand by and watch our Prince of Nor fall. And then Garon's like, ... Xander's like, Father.
And then Yago's like, it's useless, Lord Xander. King Garon has already approved this inevitable showdown. We are both eager to see how much Lord Lady Avatar has grown with our own eyes. If the two end up killing each other, well, lesson learned. If you think I will stand and do nothing, you are grievously mistaken. This kind of makes me think, I guess it kind of confuses me about Xander then. Xander really seems like he would actually storm in and disobey King Garon's orders. And I guess that kind of means that Xander sort of had enough of Garon's shit and enough of Yago's shit, and even though Garon's right there and ordered it, Xander wouldn't give a fuck. Xander wouldn't care. He was just gonna be like, I'm protecting my brother. And that kind of makes me think that I guess I might have been wrong about Xander in terms of story. Maybe that in that whole understood thing, it really meant that Xander was really like reluctantly accepting Garon's orders, even though he really didn't want to. And this was like the last straw. Like he thought that Ryoma was going to kill Korin and that Yago was going to let it happen. I guess that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because afterwards Xander really starts to resent Garon. Finally, you finally see it now. So yeah, and then unfortunately Saizo and Kagero come in and they're like, we're gonna beat you guys while Ryoma beats Korin. And then I don't really know what happens to Yago and Garon, but they leave. They're just gone from this chapter, I guess. I don't know, maybe in the script they say something. Yeah, they kind of just vanish. What I think would be pretty interesting is if Yago and Garon didn't leave and they were actually just their own units, just trashing everyone and like setting up this thing where like they're your allies. Reluctantly, they're your allies because yes, you're on the same team and you don't want them to succeed, but they're like helping you out to win and survive in this chapter. I think that'd be kind of cool. Having them still around instead of just vanishing, because realistically they should still be there and they should be fighting, but they aren't. And they have nothing else better to do than to fight, but they're not there. So I think it'd be interesting if they did that, if they rolled with like if they had Garon, because we don't see Garon as a human fight. You never see Garon as a human fight, and I think it'd be an interesting thing to see Garon and Yago and Hans on your team again, maybe taking their own sector and just destroying people. And maybe there's a chest there that they will that they will reach or something and take the I guess they wouldn't really take the chests or anything, but maybe Hans would. Maybe you give him lock touch and he takes the... You can do that. Yeah, I can see that happening. Because in the paralogue with Forest, one of the brigands have lock touch to open the door. So yeah, you maybe give Hans lock touch for this chapter, because in repeat characters in these chapters they have different skill sets. So yeah, I think it'd be cool if you gave Hans lock touch, and if the chapter was balanced better, I guess if the chapter was easier to deal with, then maybe you could send like a small force to go with Hans, Yago, and Garon. And maybe you can chase them before Hans gets to a special treasure chest, and you lose out on a special item that would be super helpful, like the silent staff or the other staff that was in there. I think it was like 10,000 gold or something. Just to kind of like remind people that they're still there and that you can still see human Garon fight. I think that'd be pretty cool. But what the decision they made to go with the two paths was, it was okay. It was whatever. What I really enjoyed about this chapter was my long-term plans finally paid off. It was super great. I knew I was going to fight Ryoma eventually, and I wasn't aware that he was going to have skills that would just fuck me up if I didn't have a good counter to him. And this is where stuff really started to come together for me towards the end game, and this is where I think the end game gets really easy for me. Relatively easier than I made it so. I had long-term plans to make sure these later chapters would be manageable. What I did with Mozu is after level 15, I promoted her to a Bow Knight and got her to learn all of her skills until she got Shuriken Breaker. And so I kept her as a Bow Knight with Shuriken Breaker. So she had like capped everything, had a horse and Shuriken Breaker. So she could take on and be a dodge tank against the left side of the ninjas. And I took the left side because the spy shurikens, I just wasn't going to deal with them. And I didn't think I'd have enough time to deal with them. And I feel like maybe if I had gotten Nina or Niles to learn Shuriken Breaker, then I could deal with that other side too. But I really don't think that in Lunatic mode, I don't think taking both hallways is remotely possible if you don't have 2 units with Shuriken Breaker and high speed. Basically, that was that. So Mozu could take on the initial 3 or 4 master ninjas there. Took those guys down. I actually died my first time because I didn't know that the automatons had spy Yumis, so they lunged me and fucked me up. So I started over, and I did some planning. Gazak went crazy. I just planned out really hard, blocked off stairs, got the chest. The silence was super clutch. I got Saizo. Gazak critted Saizo with the Great Club. I don't even know, man. This guy is absurdly powerful. Saizo got totally wrecked, just totally trashed. So I beat Saizo. I get the Silent Staff, and that side was pretty easy. It was an interesting strategy to. I've been saying interesting a lot, but it was. There's no other word to think about it. It's deep. It's deep strategy to do these long-term skill swaps and stuff like that. So I take care of that side, and while that's happening, Great Knight Korin is chipping away at Ryoma, and Ryoma has no chance. Ryoma was getting obliterated by me. What I wanted to do with Korin was have him as a hero so he can learn the hero skills. After he learns all the hero skills, I reclass him to a Great Knight. Now, I reclass him to a Great Knight because he was, I think, buddy supported with Xander or something, so he could heart seal into a paladin or a Great Knight or a Nor Noble or a Bow Knight or whatever, given all the options. So I get him to a Great Knight, and he's been a Great Knight since chapter 20. He was a Great Knight since Hinoka's chapter, and some Paralogues before that. So he got shelter and elbow room and all this stuff. I just wanted him to get Astra, and then I'd reclass him back to a hero. I just wanted him to get Astra. That's all I wanted. So he's fighting Ryoma. He gets a level up, Luna. He gets Luna. That's what I meant to say. He gets Luna. So now my Korin has Draconic Hex. I wanted him to keep nobility so he'd get the level ups faster. He has Soul Luna, Draconic Hex, nobility, and I think Strong Riposte. I think I gave him Strong Riposte in case the level ended up being so far that Ryoma would actually start countering. I have him with the dual club. My club Korin long-term plan paid off beautifully. My Great Knight reclassing to get Luna paid off beautifully. And the thing with Korin is that his skill is sky high as a hero. His skill cap, I don't know if growth modifiers change as class growths change, or if Korin just has the same growth throughout his whole character, and depending on your Boon Bane, it changes. But his skill was so high that he kept proccing Luna and he kept proccing Soul, and then eventually the Draconic Hex got to Ryoma, and even though Ryoma has that vigor skill that halves status downs, it just didn't matter. Ryoma didn't stand a chance. Ryoma had no chance to beat me. It was game over. It was honestly just game over. Ryoma got trashed. I trashed Ryoma with Great Knight Korin. Korin learned Luna. I beat Ryoma. I got the silence. I beat Saizo. I ignored that right side. If I play Conquest again, probably on hard, I'm going to try to get another Shuriken Breaker. So I might work on Niles. Again, I might focus more on Niles than before, because I really only started to use Niles late mid, so he could get strong enough to start capturing people, because his strength was negligible, and I didn't. I promoted him early, so he can just get a strength boost, so he can just capture easier. Turned out to be a really good idea. So I beat Ryoma's chapter, and Ryoma kills himself, and I was very pleased with the writing because there was really no other choice. For Korn to do. He was in a tough bind. He had no other choice. I felt like he was really in a tough situation, and Ryoma took life into his own hands and died the samurai way and killed himself. And it was great. It was, and Yago was a total ass about it. Like it felt good to know that Korn's actions finally caught up to him, and his like deceptive sort of attitude that he needed to learn. And you know what? That's another thing. A few of the commenters said that I was getting hung up on Korn's deception, and I guess I was sort of wrong in the sense that he's not really lying. He's kind of bending the truth, and it is still somewhat deceptive and kind of blurred between like truth and lies. And he sort of does like develop in a way that, his brother Leo was telling him to and stuff like that. So I appreciate the feedback you guys gave me for that. And it kind of helped me sort of see things through your guys' perspective. I still don't really like the scene that much, but I understand it more so. So thank you for people who contested my statement on that. Yeah. And that's another thing I want to talk about in the future, about, these podcasts and stuff like that. So when Ryoma dies, Avatar feels really shitty about himself, and he deserves it, and I really loved that scene. And it's kind of sadistic on my part because I love it because Korn feels bad about himself, and I want Korn to feel bad. I want Korn to feel like shit, because he deserves it. He is responsible for a bunch of deaths, and he drops this fucking line. I tweeted about it, and it was like, this is for the good of us all. And I was like, you can't be serious right now. This is I think what the commenters were saying about Korn as being all ideals, in case you don't really get what I mean by that. He's blinded by his ideals, and he's blinded by the fact that what he thinks he's doing is right, and he kind of glosses over the fact that he is responsible for all of this collateral damage. The only reason why Hans was able to slaughter those people was because Korn ended a rebellion. The entire reason why, Yago and Hans were slaughtering people, or slaughtering the soldiers, after Sakura's chapter was because of Korn's victory. Like, Korn is just as responsible for these deaths as Hans is, but he's letting his ideals blind him from that reality, and he's still hanging on to this whole thing that, even though he's questioning whether this path is the right one, he still is hanging on to this idea that, what he's doing is for the good of us all. It's like, no, it's not. It's not for the good of us all. If this was for the good of us all, you'd be doing something different. I don't know what you'd be doing, but you wouldn't be doing this. Or you might think that, but you wouldn't say that. It's just written like he is a blank slate with only ideals and only talks about those ideals. It's like, this is not for the good of them. This isn't overthrowing a kingdom and helping a psycho madman overthrow and slaughter people isn't for the good of Hoshido. I'm sorry, it's not. It is not for the good of Hoshido. Like, I don't know how you can say that, man. I don't know how you can say that, because it's not true. It's just not true. It's like, can you imagine you're hearing that as Ryoma? Like, barring the whole, like, I'm not actually your sibling thing. Because in this case, Ryoma doesn't give a shit, and Ryoma hates Korn. Like, for the good of us all thing. Someone who you've come to accept as not your brother, in Ryoma's case, in Ryoma's perspective, someone who you've decided that you hate, tells you that your whole kingdom has fallen it's for your sake. It's good for you that this is happening. That's the implication I get, is that Korn is saying, dude, I got this. Like, I'm doing this for the benefit of the kingdom. If I was Ryoma, I would be like, are you fucking kidding me right now? You think this is for the good of the kingdom? You think invading and causing Hans and Yago to go off is for the good of us? Who were you to decide that? Like, that's the reaction I would have had. And I feel like this is the reaction that the public, the Hoshidan civilians, who honestly seem like the most realistic people in the game. like the Hoshiden civilians who are like opposed to this and actually, you know, they get the agency, they get the right in this game to speak their mind before they get slaughtered by Hans. It's like they're the only real people in this game, it feels like sometimes. Like they actually have genuine reactions. Like this Korin guy's a fucking asshole. Like this guy's a bad person. Korin's a bad person. Like if he had ideals, I don't know if he would do, if he, you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? I feel like I'm rambling here. I'm drinking a lot of coffee lately, and I get kind of rambly when I drink coffee. But that's what I mean. It's like you really have the balls to say it's for the good of us. Maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm missing something in the story. But for me, that line really threw me off and really made me lose respect for Korin. It's like, this isn't for the good. How can you say that? Like, how can you actually say that? Is it because he's trying to say that he needs to get Garon on the throne? I don't know, but that line, the delivery was weak. That was a bad part about that ending cutscene. But yeah, the chapter itself wasn't that tough. People are saying Ninja Hell, and I mean, it's just, I mean, maybe it's easier for me because I was sort of spoiled and I kind of planned ahead. But for me, it's like you get Shuriken Breaker, and that chapter is manageable. And if you don't have Shuriken Breaker, then then I'm pretty sure you just have to rely on Korin winning. And even if Korin didn't have Shuriken Breaker, or if Mozu didn't have Shuriken Breaker, then I wouldn't get the Silent Staff, and that would make my life terrible actually, because I abused the silent. All the status stats I have were for Yago's chapter. But yeah, for the most part, Great Knight Korin totally slaughtered Ryoma. No challenge at all. The guy kept proccing Luna. And I think I gave him good fortune as well, just in case. I think instead of stronger post, it was good fortune. So, you know, Korin had like 1/3 of a chance to proc good fortune. He had every turn he kept getting Luna or Soul, so he kept regenerating health. He just couldn't lose. Like, there was no way. Even if Ryoma came back, there was no way he could win. And the dual club made his hit rate garbage. Ryoma got owned. I destroyed Ryoma. And then Saizo got critted by Gazak, who's a fucking monster, man. Gazak is so good. I love him so much. And yeah, that chapter was over. Next run through, I'm hoping to get. Well, I mean, next run through, they won't have absolute end. I actually tried to capture a maid with absolute end, and I wanted to see if I got the skill, but I don't. It's an enemy. It's a straight up enemy only skill. I don't think they don't get Staff Savant either. Those are 2 enemy only skills, I think. Because yeah, I captured one of the maids. I think in Yago's chapter, I captured one of the Yago maids, and she didn't come with Staff Savant or Absolute End, or something like that. I don't know, but yeah. So that was that. If I ever play Lunatic again, which I doubt, because fuck that, I'm gonna make sure I have 2 Shuriken Breakers to get the that chest, that 10,000 gold. And that ended, and then it was Yago's chapter. I was warned by literally everyone that Yago's chapter would be impossibly hard. The infinite hexing rod hell, the infinite hexing rod whatever. Chapter 26 is bullshit. Chapter 26 is bullshit. Yada, yada, yada. Maybe it's because my team was amazingly optimized, but that was one of the easier chapters of this game. That was literally one of the easier chapters of Conquest. Especially, I shit you not, it was probably the easiest chapter in the late game for me. Not even kidding. Like, not even kidding. Yago's chapter was one of the easiest. And I'll explain to you why. Yago's chapter is probably the easiest chapter to predict what's going to happen. It is so telegraphed that there is no surprises at all in this chapter. You've learned up to now, as a Fire Emblem player of Conquest, or at least you should learn up to now, how reinforcements arrive, and you should understand. I mean, I guess I spoiled myself by saying, by learning that the Yago staff is in a pattern. But even if that wasn't the case, even if you just tested it out, and if you didn't use the hexing rod first, then whatever he's going to use next, or, you know, if you try to put him in range of, I don't know. For me, I feel like even if I didn't know about the pattern, it wouldn't have mattered that much because I just stayed away from his range, or you could just learn from the pattern itself. But people have already told me, so maybe if I didn't know that, it'd be harder. Everything in chapter 26 is predictable. Yago's staff pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4. And even with the hexing rod being infinite, it's like a hard thing to manage, but it's one every 4 turns. Like, you can get enfeebled, which is but it's a hexing rod every 4 turns. You have 1 in 4 turns. Like, you have 3 turns of wiggle room to get away from his range. And his range isn't even that hard to work around at all. Like, so this is what I did. The first room is Wyvern Lords. Or sorry, heroes with Wyvern Slayers. I reclassed Corrin back into a hero. And I paired him up. How do I explain this? First thing I did was I reclassed Corrin into a hero. So now Corrin, who I gave him, I fed him tonics. And I gave him speed. I fed my army speed and I think defense or resistance. I think it was double speed. So that was that. So I prepared for that. Hero Corrin with a dual club, Luna, Soul, Draconic Hex, Shelter, which is super clutch. Shelter and I want to say Strong Riposte or Good Fortune. Yeah. No, it was Axebreaker. Yeah. So those skills were fantastic. So Bo Knight Mozu learns rally skill, and I have my rally man with all these other rallies. So the first thing I do was I rally my units. I open the door with Niles with his lockpick, with his lock touch. After Niles lock touches, I sheltered him with Corrin, and when that happens, Corrin gets a res boost and a speed boost. Then I dance Corrin with Azura for extra speed, skill, and luck. Actually, no. This is what I do. The first thing I do was I do the lock touch, I do the rally thing and shit like that, and then I paired up Xander with Leo, and these heroes have counter, which is kind of bullshit. So they have counter and strong weapons. So you need to kill these units first before you need to kill them if you're up close. So Xander with the Siegfried took out like half the health of the hero in front of the maid with the hexing rod, and she has to go first. So then I take out the hexing rod lady. No, I take out I do half damage to the first hero in front of the maid, and then I get Gazak, who's paired up with, I want to say, Nina or someone with a dual club, and he finishes the job with I have 2 dual clubs here because I picked up one and then another one came up from a prize thing, which was clutch as fuck. It was either a prize or just like found randomly, which is really weird. Like the random pickups I got were like super lucky from my castle stuff like that. Gazak beats that hero and then it opens up space for a super buffed Corrin with a dual club. So Corrin with the dual club takes out the maid with the hexing rod. So that's done. Then that happens, and then the entrap maid entraps. The entrap maid will either entrap Gazak or Corrin. And the thing is that on my first run through, I didn't expect the entrap staff to happen, and I actually got to the end with on my first playthrough of this chapter. I got to Hans. I killed Hans, and then I got critted by one of the berserkers. Gazak got critted because the only thing that Gazak doesn't have is luck, And if he's against Berserkers, he's going to get critted. So that's what happened. Their crit rate is like 22% against Gazak. I lost Gazak, then I lost Benny, then I lost Camilla. It was a nightmare. Towards the end, it all fell apart. So I restarted, and I knew what I was supposed to do. But oh my god, I kept getting critted by 6%, and I kept missing 96s, and I kept getting hit by like 5% hit rates. It was fucked up. Like, I was getting RNG messed up in my second run through. So my winning run through was same strategy as before. Even if Corrin doesn't get entrapped and he gets targeted by the heroes with the Wyrm Slayer, he is so good that his speed is like, he's so roided out by all this stuff, by the rallies and by like the pots and stuff, that he either gets hit and gets hit by 22 damage, and he procs soul, so he gets the HP back, or he crits and procs soul, and he's like an infinite tank. He does not die. The guy does not die. So the first room gets cleared out, and if Gazak gets warped, instead of depending on his 10% on his 10 base luck, I gave him all 3 of my remaining goddess icons to boost his luck to 22. So his luck was now 22, and he was not getting crit anymore, which was great. I wasn't going to... Everyone... I feel like the only units that don't have good luck are just capturable units who just have naturally bad luck, so it increases the player's crit chance and stuff like that. So Gazak now has a healthy amount of luck and cannot get critted against. So with the dual club, if Gazak gets warped and those 2 sorcerers come from the right chamber, then Gazak can survive. So I was mindful, and I kept count of Yago's rotation, his staff rotation. So like I did, turn 7? So I do 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the next staff? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the seventh turn, he will do this staff on his enemy phase. So that's what I kept in mind the entire chapter, was what staff Yago is going to use next. So that was happening. I cleared out the first room, no problem. And I know there's the left side, but I was not going towards that left side. I felt like it was a suicide mission, because if you go near the left side, then I feel like the entrap maid will entrap you. The Faceless will seal defense you, seal strength you, and then he will do massive damage against you, and then you'll get attacked by massive rocks by the stone golems. So that was not happening at all. Like, the Stoneborns are not, no way. Those guys are not going to touch me. So I ignored the left side completely. And I checked the prize, and I have no shuriken users at all. So even the spy's shuriken or whatever that was, I wasn't even going to be able to use it. So I ignored that side entirely. I get to the sorcerer side, and I have Nina now. And Nina is the best tank. I paired up unintentionally. I have Nina as Elise as the mother. So I give Elise, so before I even knew about this sorcerer planning thing, I give Nina Elise's res +2 stat skill. And since Elise's resistance is already fucking sky high, and so is Niles, and the adventurer's resistance base is like really high anyway, with the dual Yumi, she was the anti-sorcerer. She was my res tank anti-sorcerer unit who could lock touch. What I did with this one was I had Forrest, who was a butler, because Severa was the mother, and so he was still fine as a butler, but I wanted him just in case I needed some debuff users for weapons, and he could also use the flame shuriken and deal crazy damage. But he was a butler. He silenced the enfeeble maid that was in the sorcerer chamber. So I got Niles to open the door, and then I sheltered Niles with Corrin with the dual club, so he could not get touched by sorcerers, because his dodge rate was so high with the dual club against magic. And the enfeeble woman wasn't going to do anything, and I timed it so Yago would use the freeze staff, so that wouldn't mess with any of my stats at all. It was either freeze or silence, but I'm pretty sure it was freeze, because then silence is followed by hexing rod, and I wanted to avoid the hexing rod at all times, and the enfeeble, which were the 2 worst. So anytime after anytime after the hexing rod use or the enfeeble use was like my prime time to do something. So I silence the maid, and then I just destroy all of those. Like it's either like dual club core and dodge tanking, or Nina just crushing them all, or it was maybe just an entire sort of like ambush of that chamber. And I eat like a silencer or freeze by Yago's staff, which is no biggie. I get everyone into the sorcerer room, and this is where my this is gonna sound kind of, I guess, I don't want to say conceited, but just I knew what I was doing at this point. My hacker intuition started to kick in. So a lot of hackers, a lot of Fire Emblem modders and game and chapter designers do this thing where it's sort of like, you do this, where I'm going to do this. And this is the logic I had for this entire chapter, was in a lot of chapters in Fire Emblem, whenever you do something, the game treats like, oh, you're going to do this? Well, guess what? I'm going to do this now. Oh, you want to open this door? Well, guess what? Here's some reinforcements. Oh, you want to beat this boss? Well, guess what? So here's this. So it was a combination of, this is what happens when you defeat bosses. I'll do this. This is what happens when you open doors. I'll do this. When you enter an area event will trigger. Things happen, like the map reacts to your actions. And especially in the late game, with obvious stairs, in these positions where if you do something, then this is going to happen next. And it's going to happen from the stairs. What I did was I anticipated the reinforcements coming. And I knew, since this was a magic-based spot, that there were only going to be sorcerers and maids that were coming from the reinforcements. So what I did was, after I opened the door and I beat that room, I knew that after I was going to either open the bottom door to get to that one sorcerer that's chilling there, that there was either going to be reinforcements going to come from there, or there were going to be reinforcements coming from the door I opened when I opened the main chamber with the Knights and the Berserkers. So I put units on the stairs, or I set up units in a way that Mozu was paired up with like Niles or something. And when I opened each door, I made sure Mozu was ready to take care of any sorcerers that came from the top corner with those stairs, or any units that came from the stairs that are right above that are like in like the left kind of corner thing, on the right side with those where those like left corner stairs are. I saw it coming. Like, this is like chapter design like 101, where you do something, game does something. This I even do it all the time. Like, I do it all the time in my game. Like in Bloodlines, there's events where you open a door and something happens, or you visit a thing and something happens, or you talk to someone, or you kill someone and something else happens. It's like, it's something that makes this chapter so predictable and so easy to manage, is because you know what's going to happen. Like, at this point, you know what's going to happen. And that's the logic of this chapter, is that like, you anticipate everything that's going to happen, and it's super predictable. This entire map is so predictable. When I opened the door, the reinforcements came like I expected them to. I had Elise as my sort of like long range staff bot, and I put her in a spot where the one square in those staircases where the sorcerer and the maid come, the sorcerers and the maids come. I had her there with silence, freeze, and I think enfeeble. So she was like my long range staffer that could do status downs to oncoming enemies coming from the main chamber. And with that happening, I also had Nina with a silence and a freeze, I think. So I had Nina, I had Forrest, I had Niles, I had Elise, all staff users who could do their own thing. I had Camilla and Ignatius with rally defense. I had Rally Man, and I had Rally Skill with Mozu. So I had all these ways to take care of any enemy that came to me. So I take care of the reinforcements, but I actually I make a wrong move, and I'm like, oh crap. So Elise is going to die by a maid or a sorcerer. I didn't kill enough reinforcements in time, even though I saw it coming. And I knew the Bifrost was coming. I knew I had the Bifrost staff on this chapter. So I sacrifice Leo. Leo dies valiantly, saving Elise. And I know that the Bifrost is coming. So I told myself no one is going to die this chapter. No one else is dying because I'm getting Leo back. That's what my plan was. And after Leo's dead, the chamber's already open, and then I have Gazak and with the Great Club paired up with Benny for defense. And with the Great Club, he'll just crit everything. He crits fucking everything with like a 98% crit rate. The Berserkers only have like a 6% crit chance against him because he has 22 luck, and he's getting rallied by Ren. And on the other side, I have Corrin with Axebreaker with either a hammer or just the Corrin with a hammer or Corrin with the Yato. And he was just like, the Berserkers couldn't touch him. And it was the hammer. It was the hammer because if the generals tried to use their hammer on him, then he might be able to eat a hit, but he could just proc Soul or Luna, and he would just get the HP back. So it took a while for Gazak and Corrin to tank the Berserkers and the Knights, but eventually they did. And then again, I made it to this point last time where once Hans approaches you, after you get in the range of that one knight on Hans's left, then the reinforcements come from the bottom. So when that started happening, I burned a lot of silences and freezes against the maid and Hans, so I could buy myself time. What I did was since I had 2 silence staffs, and I had Forrest and Elise able to... It was either Forrest, Elise, or Nina able to silence those 2 maids. When I triggered Hans's approach, I silenced both the maids so they couldn't do anything for a turn. Once that happened, Hans came, the 2 knights that came with him came, and before the knights and the Berserkers could reach, I had basically a turn to kill Hans. The thing is with Hans is that he has counter and the Ogre Mirror, which is like super strong of an axe. But guess what? Your power and your counter won't do much against Gazak, who at this point has 68 health. He has 68 fucking HP. He is so beefy. He's an HP tank, a defense tank, a crit machine, has 40 fucking strength, has insane skill, so he'll proc Pavise. One time, he was about to die, and he proc Pavise and survived. And he has good fortune with now 22 luck, plus a dance that gives him a quarter of a chance to get 13 HP back because his HP is so high. Gazak is a monster. He is literally Goto. He procced a crit, obviously, because it was like a 99% chance to kill Hans. He kills Hans in 1 turn. And Hans can't proc a counter because he's dead. And then I do dual, like crazy dual strike strats with like Hans and like Ignatius with the hammer to kill those guys. And it was nuts. And then I silenced the 2 maids again. So I had wiggle room to deal with the 2 Berserkers and the 2 Knights that came from the bottom for the reinforcements after Hans approached. Killed those guys, and then I made sure I wasn't in the range of any hexing rods or any entraps by the maid. And I take the maid out. Like I take one of the maids out. Then I shelter one of the guys who took the maids. Then I danced and I brought the maids. I took out the first maid and the second maid. I think I kept there. I didn't really matter what that maid did. And I made sure I approached Yago on turns that he wouldn't hexing rod or enfeeble me. And then no reinforcements came after he opened the door, even though I prepared for it. I thought if I opened Yago's chamber, then the reinforcements would come from the bottom. So I covered those up just in case, but nothing happened, which was relieving. And then Mozu just one-rounded Yago. That was it. Yago died. I got the Bifrost. I actually turned Elise into a maid for this one chapter because Elise needed the Bifrost to be used, and she was the only one with an A rank and staffs. So I heart sealed in my base. I heart sealed Elise into a maid, and then I arm scrolled her to an S rank. So just in case someone died or I fucked up, I can get them back. And that's what happened. That was the foresight I had. Someone fucked up. I let it. I saw it. I was predicting it, and then I used the Bifrost staff on Leo. He came back, and then I ended the chapter with no casualties. No bullshit happened. I saw everything coming. I utilized all my status staffs that I had left that I didn't use yet. So I had staff bots in Forest, Elise, Nina, and I just I used the status staffs to my advantage. I silenced the maids when I could, the ones that threw me over. I made sure they weren't an issue, and then I had Gazak not getting critted because his luck was too high, and then Hyago died in a turn, and then I got the Excalibur, and I got the Orgulmio, which Gazak can use. Gazak can use. He has base S rank in axes, so he's going to use the Orgulmir, which was sick because he fucking destroyed Garon like by himself. It was awesome. So I beat Yago, get all the chests, get the Bifrost, revive Leo in that chapter. It's just so good to plan ahead so large, even in the long term. Like these long term reclasses for these to put myself in a winning situation was so gratifying, and it's so fun. It's like, this is one of the reasons why I love Conquest gameplay, is that there's so many ways to enhance your strategy by shuffling through skills and shuffling through reclasses and setting up and optimizing your team for situations where you need them to do certain things. And it feels amazing to plan and actually feel like your long-term strategies have a payoff effect. My final team is not that high level. I'll show you guys who capped. I'll show you guys screenshots of my final team, my final core team. Tell me what you guys think. But the only thing I kind of cheesed was the visit bonuses. Everything else, I think I might have grinded supports 1 or 2 times, but that was it. I tried as little as I could to grind supports at Visitor Castle, because I found out about that so late in the game that I was like, okay, I'll do it once or twice. So yeah, Yago's down. Very happy, super happy. I feel like that chapter gets a lot more credit in terms of difficulty than it really deserves. I think people really overblow the difficulty of this chapter. With enough long-term planning, the chapter isn't hard because it's so predictable. It's one of the most predictable chapters in the game. It's if you understand the logic of reinforcements and the patterns of things that Conquest does up to this point, and you optimize your team to deal with it, then it's easy. It's easier to do, and to me, it's I knew everything that was coming. Super easy looking chapter too. Just aesthetic wise, it's 4 chambers, and one of which you can just ignore completely. So in that case, I didn't have a problem with it, because I made long-term preparations for this chapter. It wasn't even for this chapter in particular. It was just what are the Great Knight skills that Corrin can learn, and what are the hero skills? Put them together, he's unstoppable. He's an unstoppable force. I honestly feel for a physical powerhouse, the best way for Corrin to be good in Conquest is having Mercenary as his talent, getting him to a hero, getting him to learn Soul, reclassing him to a Great Knight, getting him Shelter, Elbow Room, and all this stuff, and then reclassing him back so he has higher capped skill and speed. Because then if he has higher capped skill and higher capped skill, the likelihood of him proccing Luna and Soul are way higher. And that's what happened. He was proccing all these skills all the time, and it was great. And Gazak was just fucking amazing. Gazak is so good. That said, I did cheese the visits to get the materials to bribe Gazak. So that's one thing I have to put on myself, is that I did visit a lot of places, and I did a lot of arena battles to get my materials up to par for Gazak to be taken up. And so was and with Ren as well, but I mean, cut me some slack here. It was fun. It was really fun getting Gazak. Even Berserkers in general, like for the next run through, if I don't want Gazak, then I'll just make sure, I'll get Percy and I'll turn him into a Berserker, or I'll get Ignatius and turn him into a Berserker or whatever. Maybe I'll do that. Like, not being a fast Berserker doesn't really make a difference when you have a crit rate that's so high that it takes one turn to kill everyone, right? So there you go. The writing behind Treason is like, you waited this long to tell them about the fucking throne. Like, it even comes off like the siblings are mad that Corrin didn't ever tell them beforehand. Like, you really need to wait till now to prove it. Like, Camilla said something, and it was like, you waited till now? Why would you wait this long? And it just makes me think, like, obviously they trust you if you told them about the crystal ball in chapter 15. If Azura actually cared enough or had the foresight enough, which she seems to, then I feel like she should have waited for Leo to come by, and then she could have brought them to not to the Invisible Kingdom, but with the crystal ball. It seems like in this universe, people will believe anything that Corrin says. Then by that logic, and I know that since Revelations exists, then the believing thing has to be a thing. I feel like it would make a way better story if the siblings knew about Garon, or were told about Garon beforehand, and Corrin was like, I know you guys don't trust me, but I need you guys. I know I know you guys are really shady about this, but Garon literally tried to kill me twice. You were there for that, Xander. And just I'm gonna proceed with the whole mission of getting Garon to the throne, but just know that I'm telling you that he's not who you think he is anymore. I would feel like they'd believe it, especially if Azura was like, "This is the crystal ball. I'm from a world I can't explain, but please believe me." And even if they didn't, then like, I feel like they'd trust Corrin enough to believe it. And even if they suspected that Azura was trying to trick them, they're still going to know her. There's still an aspect that I believe that even if Leo saw the crystal ball and saw Garon's true form, the fact that only he can do it, and the fact that Xander and Elise and Camilla can't, if Leo was on their side or he got to thinking, then I feel like he would have the brain capacity to, understand where Corrin's coming from. And then I would really love it if the story would take a direction where instead of it's Corrin and Azura fighting to put Garon on the throne, separated from the fact that it's another battle's going on between Xander and the siblings, just following Garon's orders, just for the fact that they can win the war. If they all sort of fought for the same thing, and this is what really pisses me off about this story, is that it turns into like, I'm fighting for my family, but now I'm fighting to dethrone Garon. It's like there's a different reason Corrin begins to want to fight. And it's frustrating to know that Corrin sort of changes his tune on what he's here for. And when he changes his tune, it feels like there's just this disconnect in story. Like, it misses the potential for the siblings and for the whole change thing from the inside, which is totally gone, because it's like no one's changing anything from the inside. That's the thing. No one is going in to Nor and working from the inside and trying to convince things going from the inside and coming out. They're waiting till the very end, and they aren't even changing things from the inside. Garon's long gone, and they only change things after the fact. There's no inside work going on here. Yeah, it really turns into this Corrin and Azura show. Corrin and Azura are fighting for different reasons and are not trying to change things from the inside. They're not. What I think is a hugely missed opportunity, and you guys can, agree or disagree, or, talk to me about it, or just, tell me what you think of this. But like, here's my idea. And I talked about this with Mangs in my big old rant in chapter 15, where instead of hiding the truth, instead of hiding the fact that Korin knows about this situation, I think it would be a fantastic change if they actually told Leo, and Leo was like, okay, I'll believe you for now, but just know that if you fuck me up and if you fuck the family up, you're dead to me or something. Like, you're literally conspiring against me with someone who's from Hoshido originally, who might be trying to conspire against me, or from who is my kid eventually, who's my sibling, then went to Hoshido and then came back to you. So just know that if you betray us, then you're in for it. So there's this sort of untrust thing that's going on between Korin and the siblings, where like they know there's something going on with Garon. They should suspect it by now that Garon literally tried to kill Korin. And they don't really cover that up. They don't really explore why Garon did that. The siblings don't. Xander doesn't really question until like the very end. So there's this suspicion that's going on now between Garon and the kids, where the kids are like, yeah, this is kind of shady, where Garon tried to kill and it was like really maniacal about trying to kill Korin and make him suffer. And it took the kids literally standing up to Garon himself to protect Korin. And that's sort of red flaggish to me. That would indicate to Leo that maybe Korin's onto something, and maybe this crystal ball from another world holds some truth to it. If they can put two and two together, that Garon isn't acting the way he should be, and that Xander understands that how Garon used to be to what he is now, they can sort of make a connection that, wait, maybe Garon is someone else. Azura explains the whole dance thing to Leo, and Leo would potentially understand. And maybe she would explain the whole, trying to purify Garon, and that's what happened, that's the truth, and then Korin would back her up. I feel like if Korin backs her up, Leo doesn't really have any reason not to believe her, because everyone loves Korin and everyone believes in Korin. That's one thing. And we see from the end game where Garon turns into a slime monster and all the kids are like really reluctant to fight their father. And it's like they have to get over the pain of fighting their father instantly. I think it would be really interesting if after chapter 15, there's this new arc that takes place where each of the siblings have to come to grips with the fact that their father isn't who they were. And they see all these atrocities that he commits, and it hits them, and it starts to chip away at their psyche that, oh wait, Garon isn't Garon anymore. And it like each of the siblings has to come to grips with this, fact that they each have to believe that Garon's actually gone. And maybe Xander's the last one to believe it when Xander actually tries to harm the kids, or does harm the kids. Maybe Camilla, goes through a bit of a character arc where she, sees these atrocities happen, and she something happens to her in the rebellion chapter, where she's like, you know what? I don't think Garon would do this. I don't think Garon would kill Scarlet like this. Or Elise, where she'd be like, I think you're right, Korin. I don't think Garon was right to put you in such a bad situation. I think Garon wouldn't do that if this was the Garon that I grew up loving. And maybe Leo would be like, I've dealt with Garon stuff in the past, but now it's like he's doing things that I just would never see happening ever. So you have these hard developments between these actual core characters, because we're supposed to believe that the siblings are core parts of the story when they really aren't. Leo is the most autonomous of the siblings. Elise is kind of there doing Elise things. Camilla's there just calling Korin darling the entire game. She does things where she kind of shows that she's the alpha dog, only for Korin's sake. And Xander sort of has to take a lot of shit before he's had enough of it at the very end. And I think that's where, the end of Xander's main story character arc would be in, he finally realizes that since he knows Garon the most, he would have the hardest time accepting the real fact that Garon isn't who we think he is or something. He laid a hand on the kids where the real Garon wouldn't do that. That's where I think the impact of Xander's realization that Garon isn't who we think he is would really be so much better, where his character arc comes to a close, where he's like, you know what, everyone's right. You're fucked up. You're not my father. So all the siblings get this mini arc of themselves where they sort of learn, these accusations that Korin and Azura are saying are real. That's, I think, would be actually changing it from the inside, where the siblings need to accept the fact on the journey to Hoshido that this is going to be the reality, and it ends up being the truth. Instead of what we got, which was hide everything from the siblings until the very end, where you have to assume they believe you, and you have to assume that Azura was right the entire time. That's what I would love. That's what I was expecting. That's what I want. I wasn't expecting it. That's what I wanted. That's what I would think would be really good about the whole changing thing from the inside. Maybe you guys agree, maybe you guys don't. But that's my opinion on how I think should have happened in that ending cutscene and after chapter 15's fucking atrocity of writing. That's what I think should have happened. That's what I think would have been great. Changing Nor from the actual inside, getting your siblings to trust you because they would, and then having the whole revelation where he is a slime monster actually happen. That would be sweet. That would be fucking awesome. Now, since that doesn't happen, let's just continue on what does happen. He admits it. Everyone's like, what the fuck? And then they see that he's a slime monster now. So that's that. And they, get stricken down, and then Garon is a slime monster, and then it's like, oh, guess what? I'm going to kill you now, blah, blah, blah. The Yato turns into the LED lights on the Yato transform again. The Siegfried transforms again. Garon's chapter is actually really easy. The Garon's part in the end game is really simple. You basically pair up. You have 12 units. You pair up every single one of them, so that you have six paired up units. And you put two flyers on the. You aim for the two flyers to go as high as possible, or high into as diagonally right or left as possible. And in case they don't get entrapped, then you bring them over to kill the entrapped users, so they won't entrap you when you get to Garon, because they will entrap you if you get to Garon. They'll bring you back down and they'll screw you over, because if you have Korin, or in my case Gazak or Xander, then the merchants and shit will kill you before you actually have a chance to beat Garon. So first thing you have to do is pair up 6 units. That's what I did, and kill the entrap users first, and then you kill either the sniper, the ninja master, the berserker, or the sorcerer. You kill those. You kill the entrap. You kill the mates first, so they don't heal the actual enemy. Then you kill the enemy. Then you have 2 turns of grace before the actual crazy heavy hitters that you will not defeat come to get you. And then you use the stairs, and then you run up, and then I had Korin, Shadow Yato, Garon twice. I did the Shadow Yato once. He dealt 38 damage. Got did the Draconic Hex. Then I danced Korin and then killed Garon. So 1 turn to kill Garon, which is Garon's super easy to kill. Especially with Draconic Hex and then Azura's Dance, it was no problem. Then it was Takumi's Last Stand. Whew, this chapter was fucking hard. As you saw in my other video, I cleared it in 5 turns. But holy shit, was it hard to actually figure out what to do. Oh my god, it was how am I gonna do this? Obviously, all my units have to die. And I want to clear this chapter fast. I have one rescue staff with 2 charges. I have Tomo with Pass, the Pegasus Knight that I captured in chapter 24. So she has Pass, A rank in lances, and B rank in staffs. So she's using the rescue staff, and she has Avenged Katana just in case. And she has Pass. So that's amazing. A flyer with Pass is no. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break, bud. It's game. That was my strategy. Was the plan had to be get Azura to be rescued by Tomo, and then dance, and then bring Tomo down. So what I had to do is every time I got there, the difficult part was actually figuring out which enemies to kill first. And then attracting them all to come to you, and then just warp skipping, and then get rescue warping, and then getting to Takumi in 1 turn. Also timing it so you don't fight Takumi after, like, you don't fight Takumi for a second round after he did his Dragon Vein attack, because then you will die in a hit. Because Takumi is really good. Well, he's not that good compared to my Korin. So my strategy that ended up being the winning strategy was having all possible units deployed. Nina has pass at this point. Nina got level 15. She had pass as an adventurer. She had C rank and she had B or C rank and staff, so she could use silence and enfeeble and all the crazy staff things. I actually bought entraps in the base, but then I realized that the infinite enfeeble users fucking don't have they don't have movement, so entrap doesn't work. I didn't realize that you can't entrap units that don't have movement. So that was that. So then I was like, okay, I just wasted like 8,000 gold on entrap staffs. So I sold the entrap staffs and I got some enfeebles and stuff. So basically what I did was I had Korin with Tomo, and I had Tomo sort of float around. If she was going to get enfeebled, then it wouldn't affect Korin. So I had Tomo kind of float around. I had Azura floating around with just by herself. I had Azura just kind of chilling by herself. The first turn, I think I entrapped one of the Oni savages on the three facing the maid. So I entrapped one of the Oni savages, and I think I silenced one of the enfeeble maids in the middle. So some of my units couldn't be enfeebled twice. I rushed Xander down to kill the first Oni savage on the left side, like the leftmost Oni savage in the middle. And then I had Camilla with a dual club by herself on the left side. So when the heroes came, then Camilla would just own them, because the heroes had a silver sword and Camilla had a dual club and swordbreaker. So those heroes wouldn't be able to do much damage, and she would like buy time against those guys. On the right side, I had Leo and Mozu and Nina with the dual Yumi, Mozu with the illusory Yumi and some res boosts to take care of those side of sorcerers. And as they were coming, I had Forest and Elise enfeebling and silencing either maids or approaching enemies. And as that was happening, I took care of the sorcerers and the heroes. And then the next thing were the maids. And since Mozu has Shuriken Breaker, I positioned Mozu in a spot where she could fight. Oh, I triggered Dragon Vein, and when I triggered the Dragon Vein, it blocked off the Beast Killer Paladin, so Mozu could have some grace period to take out one of the maids and not get attacked by the Beast Killer. So I killed a maid, and then the Master Ninjas, I think, tried to kill Mozu, and they missed, and so Mozu did some damage, but then she got enfeebled by Staff Savant and Absolute End maids. So I think Mozu died, and then it was like, oh crap. So Mozu got down. I ended up baiting I ended up baiting the Malignites, and then at this point it was like turn 3 or something, and I was like, I need to end Takumi at around either turn 4 or turn 5. So the Malignites come, and then the Suicide Bombers come, and then I'm like, oh shit, it might be too late now. So at this point, like, it's really adrenaline pumping. Like I'm in my office. I'm working at the gym. And there's like no one. It was like a Sunday morning, so no one was there, and I was just in the office, like playing 3DS Fire Emblem, and I was like, this has to happen now. So I still have charges of my freeze, and I still have Nina's silence, and it was like the most insane thing that happened. Like the Bow Knight, like the Paladins with the Bow Knights or whatever, the paired up ones on the bottom right and left, they were approaching, and I was like, okay, this is time. This is it. If I don't do it now, I'm done. And if you and there is and Nina with pass, somehow Ren survived. Somehow Ren was still alive after all this shit happened. So I had Ren rally Corrin and Tomo. And by the way, I gave boots to Tomo for this one chapter so she can have extra move to get to Takumi quick, and that paid off big time. Paid off really well. It was a really smart idea to give Tomo boots. So Tomo had 9 move as a Pegasus Knight with pass. Let's go. So Tomo, who is the goddess, rescued, like I flew Tomo all the way down. I rescued Azura. Azura was paired up with Xander. So then they were there, and then I had Azura sing Tomo, and then I had Nina pass all the way through a bunch of enemies and then silence the Grandmaster with the Hexing Rod near Corrin. And then this was after the fact that Takumi did his AoE spell. So I had a grace period. There was no one to use the Hexing Rod against Corrin. And this was the last turn. And then I used like Elise or Forest to freeze one of the Paladins that were coming from the bottom left, so they couldn't attack Corrin. And it was like, I'm doing this. So, I rescue warp Azura with 1 rescue staff, and then I dance Azura. I dance Tomo. Tomo goes down to Corrin, or goes down to Takumi, and I switch. And this is what Corrin was working with. A Pegasus Knight boost, which was speed and skill. Soul, Luna, Elbow Room, Draconic Hex, and Strong Riposte. A bunch of offensive stats, a bunch of offensive skills. Corrin deals 25 damage at first. Corrin deals 25 damage. Procs, he gets hit by Takumi, but then Corrin procs Soul, so he gets his HP back. And so the Paladin is frozen, that can't reach. The Hexing Rod Grandmaster is silenced, so he can't Hexing Rod Corrin. And then Azura and Xander are like in the way of the other 2 Paladins from the other side. So they can't charge at Corrin immediately. All my units get fucking slaughtered. The only ones who survive, now that I think about it, I don't think anyone else survived except Corrin and Tomo. But for some reason, my MVPs were Nina and Shigeru, even though Shigeru actually didn't even fight anyone. I don't know what the logistics of who becomes the MVP, but it was definitely Tomo and Corrin. So my units fall out, and then, Takumi charges up his thing and attacks me, and guess what? Strong Riposte, baby. And Luna. Game over. Done. Game is done. Like, Takumi came to attack me. He was draconically hexed, so was I. But I had enough defense where it was like no problem. So he had a big shield and won. So he big shielded once, I think. But it didn't matter because he didn't have enough HP. And I procced either Soul or Luna, I forget which one, but the Strong Riposte did it. The Strong Riposte was the game breaker, like the game ender. He had more power on enemy phase because he was a counterattack, and that was it. That was game. He got Strong Riposte, procced Soul or whatever, done. Game was over. So I think that Hero Corrin to Great Knight back to Hero is like the most guaranteed way to beat Takumi, because his skill is so high. His skill gets so high with the pair up, with the tonics I gave him in the battle preps. Corrin slaughtered Takumi. It wasn't even a problem. And I honestly think that Gazok could beat Takumi, because Gazok's power output is absurd. He has like 41 base strength now, or 42 base strength, like capped berserker strength. The Orgel Mirror gives him like 15 extra crit to his 30, and it deals massive damage. Like, give me a break. Like, even Gazok could take on Takumi. The game ended. The whole heaven thing after Garon died was really stupid. I really didn't like it. I think it really cheapened the death of Ryoma, that he's still alive technically or something, like in heaven or some shit. And it really cheapened Takumi not being possessed and being all over Korn's dick. It was really gross and really stupid. The writing was really dumb for that. It took so long to do, and Lilith came back and it was like, get the fuck out of here, Lilith. Get the fuck out of here, Ryoma. Get the fuck out of here, Takumi. It ruined the moment for me when Ryoma was still there. And it ruined the moment for me when Takumi ended up being a good dick rider for Korn. I feel like Takumi should have stayed resentful. And I feel like that heaven scene shouldn't have happened. I don't know what else they could have done instead, but I really did not like that scene at all. It reminded me of Awakening and what they did with like, oh, you have to keep fighting, blah, 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 blah. And it was just really stupid. I just didn't like it. I just don't like it when characters don't actually die. Like, Ryoma killed himself. He shouldn't have any room to talk, and it really cheapens his death when he still has feelings and stuff after the fact. Maybe if Korn had like a near death experience and he only saw his mother, that would be better. I just he kind of phases out of like reality, and he's like dreaming of his mother talking to him. That would be nice, because it gave some agency back to Mikoto, but I really don't like how Ryoma was there, and I really don't like how Takumi ended up being a really nice guy and stuff like that. And they were just implying play Birthright instead, or I played Birthright afterwards. I didn't like it that much at all. Then I beat Takumi. And the ending cutscene was like cheesy as fuck. And Hinoka, and pretty much the last scene when Hinoka and Sakura come to the kingdom, and like Hinoka says she'd be devastated about losing Ryoma. And I don't know how long it is since they last spoke, but Hinoka says it is what it is regarding Ryoma's death. And I was like, are you serious? It is what it is? How do you still like Korn? You aren't even siblings now. Like, it's like, how do you still love this guy so much? Like, it is what it is. This guy fucking killed half your family. He's responsible for the death of Takumi and Ryoma. And the only thing you can say is it is what it is. And they just sort of like surrender and like succumb to to Nor's reign and shit in the end. And no one's mad at Korn, and Hinoka and Sakura are like, Korn is here with me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, do you realize what just happened to your kingdom? Like, do you realize that these are the guys who are responsible for killing your mother, your older brother, and your younger brother, and turning you into a queen when you clearly aren't ready for it? Or when you say you're not ready for it. And it's like a responsibility that you have to take up. And your civilians are against it because they don't want you they're working with Nor and shit like that. And you're just so casual about it. And it's like, dude, you lost your family, your actual family, to someone who isn't your brother. And you're socializing with the people who are responsible for destroying your, like, I feel like that's such an impossibly implausible actual situation to happen. It is what it is. How can you say that, Hinoka? How can you say that? It is what it is. Yeah, well, it happened. What happened, happened. I lost half my fucking family, my mother, to you. And I also hate Camilla. She's a bitch. Well, I mean, that's not... Well, no. I meant to say in Hinoka's mind. I don't actually hate Camilla that much. I mean, kind of. I don't really like her that much as a main story unit. But you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems so implausible that it's so casual at the end. And Azura dies, and it's just like, whatever. Korn doesn't really feel bad about himself. I don't want to talk about the writing anymore. I honestly don't. It's just so bad to me. I really hate it. It's just so much weird shit. Just to make Korin out to be a hero when he clearly is not. There's so many instances where it's like, you have to realize Korin's not a good person here. And they ignore it because they realize they see only his ideals and what his intentions are and nothing behind the severity of his actions. And it's so frustrating to see as someone who's like, when I'm playing the game, I'm like, am I the only rational person here? Maybe it's just because I'm not a pure-hearted person like Korin, but I feel like if I was in this universe, I'd be like either Scarlet or Takumi without the soft pussy side, or a civilian that gets slaughtered by Hans. Because that's all I see. That's all I see in Korin is someone who's like borderline sociopath who thinks his ideals are good enough to legitimize all these atrocities that he's responsible for. And it makes me really angry. It makes me frustrated in this game. It's like, what is the story? Why were we told about this change the insides of whatever? And I thought it was all going to be about politics, and it wasn't. It was just about a fucking slime monster in the end. And it was like, God damn it, the story had so much potential. And it's like, what happened? God. Ugh. So frustrating. But in terms of chapter design, it was definitely probably one of the hardest, or if not the hardest endgame chapters I've ever played in Fire Emblem. Probably the hardest. It was kind of a risky move, encouraging players to sacrifice their units to survive and win, even though they don't die. So it's not really, the stakes still aren't that big, because no one can die, because everyone has to have a little say at the fucking end where Korin is waking up from his dream state or whatever. And it's like, okay, you're all alive, I guess. You were all here, even though I didn't even deploy you, but whatever. I liked it. The hexing rod, I don't know how you can do it without rushing and rescuing. I only used one rescue charge, and I knew people said, you need to save your rescues, and I'm like, I did it in one turn, so GG. I guess if you didn't want to cheese it with rescues, then I don't even know how you would do that, because once you attack a melee, they all attack you, and they'll enfeeble. They'll stack enfeebles on you, and the master ninjas will just, oh man. At one point, Leo had like one magic and like one everything, or like just really low, just really shitty stats because he was just totally nerfed. But yeah, the Takumi's part took me like 5 or 6 attempts. And yeah, that was the game. So all in all, the story is really disappointing. I'm really mad. The characters in the main campaign aren't really that great, except for Leo sometimes. Xander is confusingly pussy-like, but not, but kind of is. Camilla doesn't do much but have boobs around. And Elise is literally just, she doesn't shut up. She's a dumb girl, a dumb blonde girl who's really bubbly and just doesn't have like anything. She's just there. Supports are pretty good. Some of them are. I should clarify, some of the supports are good. This has been going on for a long time. So what I think I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? I'm just going to fucking cover them anyway. I'm just going to cover all of them. This is the longest podcast ever, so I hope you guys like it. If you guys are sticking through still, then comment saying I'm still listening. And then edit your comment with other things after you listen to the entire thing. This is a long podcast. Anyway, so the Paralogues are fun. The thing is with the Paralogues is that they're all modest gimmicks. The Kana Dragon Vein chapter was a modest gimmick about changing the rivers, and it was pretty chill for the most part. It was like, you know, the Dragon Veins they were advantageous to you only, and you had options on which Dragon Veins to use, and I liked that. Kana was a pretty good unit for me. She seemed more of a supporter because her HP wasn't really good enough to survive on her own. And her boosts to being a paired up support were really helpful, especially for Leo. And anyone who just needs resistance and speed and shit like that. So yeah, Nor Noble boosts are good. The other Shigure's paralogue was actually really fun. I really, really liked the idea of being on a boat, but there are boats that are moving and they're sort of shifting their way and, opening up different paths for you to handle. I really liked that. There was no Dragon Vein, and I really liked that gimmick with the moving boats. I thought it was really interesting, and it kept it fresh and kept it motivating and kept you on your toes. And that was really nice. A really nice gimmick. The Ignatius Paralogue was impossibly hard for one flyer to handle by themselves, because Ignatius kills himself if he has no vulneraries left, so he'll kill himself. So basically, what I did was, after getting Shigure, I tried out Ignatius's Paralogue before Shigure's, and I realized I can't do this with one flyer. So I got Shigure, turned him into a Kinchi Knight, and brought him over with I want to say Leo, and I had, who was it? I had Leo, I had Shigure, Camilla, and I think Camilla was paired up with someone else. It was Benny. It was Benny, Camilla, and Niles. It was Benny, Camilla, and Shigure and Leo. So they went to Ignatius. They walled out Ignatius, and they were protecting him from the sorcerers that were coming. So the sorcerers got walled out by Shigure and Camilla, and I ended up getting Ignatius safe and sound. I reclassed him into a Great Knight so we can get Luna, because he inherited Wary Fighter. So I felt like there was no point of him getting to a general. All the skills he had were already gotten by Benny. So I reclassed him into a Great Knight so he got Luna. And then I beat the chapter, and it was okay. It was an okay chapter. After getting Ignatius, it was more just like a route, and it was fine. I didn't really have any problem. The satisfaction in adjusting my strategy and getting a second flyer in Shigure was really satisfying, because it was like, okay, I can't handle this chapter with one flyer, so I'll adjust by getting another flyer after I finish this paralogue and beating the chapter that way, and I did. Then it was Sophie's paralogue, and hers was kind of stupid. You had to rush, and the villagers killed themselves, and it was really annoying because I read that you can get items for keeping at least 5 alive. So that's what I did. It was just a simple kind of rush. Interesting gimmick, kind of stupid because the villagers are really dumb. But I mean, as an idea, it's like, yeah, you have to pace yourself with the villagers, or you just kill Nicole as soon as possible, and you get the villagers to safety. Or the thing was defeat boss, so you just got there as soon as you can. So it was okay. It was an okay paralogue. Sigbert paralogue was not happening. It was not happening. Not at this time anyway, because I was just getting overwhelmed. I didn't know what really to do. And this was before chapter 23. So instead of depending on it's kind of a blur to me, but the gimmick was really frustrating. Well, it wasn't frustrating. It was just kind of a nuisance. Well, it was the gimmick and unending reinforcements that you have to clear out as soon as possible. And you know what? I actually don't really mind it that much, because I'm doing something similar for my chapter 6 in Bloodlines. So I can see what they wanted to do with that. And once I decided to back out from that chapter and attempt chapter 23 and get Elise to learn Rally Resistance and get Rally Man. So that's when I beat chapter 23, and I got Ren the Rally Bro, and I got Elise to Rally Resistance, and then I had the option of going through Sigbert's chapter or Forest's. Because when I tried Forest's originally, it was really hard. Forest's Paralogue chapter is very tough for me, especially in the end game where enemies are just really good. At this point, Corrin was a Great Knight. Getting to Soul. I always get those three mixed up. Getting to Luna is what I meant to say. God damn it. So yeah, getting to Luna was my goal for Corrin. And he learned Axe Breaker on chapter 23 when he played Forest's Paralogue. I had Corrin and Xander solo. I had Corrin and Xander go left, and then once the paladins with the trample skill hiding in like the top left there in Forest's chapter, I got in their range, and at the same time I had Ren and Elise and like literally anyone else buffing fucking anyone I could, and I took care of the first room. And then I had Leo paired up with Kana, baiting the sorcerers to fight me on the wall. And as that was happening, Corrin and Xander were taking care of the berserkers and the sorcerer from the top entryway that you can break through. So that was happening. So Corrin was taking care of those guys. He was proccing soul all the time, tanking with the dual club and axe breaker. So he was just not even getting touched by fucking anyone. So I was doing that. And then when I last played, I got screwed over by the sorcerer reinforcements that came all over the place. Those 2 reinforcement spots. So I flew Ignatius over to the top left stairs, or the topmost stairs, and I separated Benny, and I placed Benny on those stairs so it would block off the reinforcements coming there. And I rallied Mozu and Leo for like res, and I'm pretty sure Leo at this point was a sorcerer. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a sorcerer yet. But it was, all the buffs were enough to take care of the berserkers. I think it was Corrin that had him, because Corrin caught up by then, and then he just didn't even get the hit rate was 0% from the berserkers, so they weren't even touching him. Then the reinforcement sorcerers came, and I took them out. I got Forest, and in terms of fighting Gazak, I had to debuff Gazak a bunch of times. And I think I didn't enfeeble him. I just debuffed him big time, and I gave Niles the rubber bow, so he had 100% hit rate. And he could deal like 5 damage with like buffs and pair-ups. So I ended up capturing Gazak, and it was the best decision ever. Whoever said capture Gazak in the comments was like, dude, good job. Good call on that. I was planning on capturing him anyway. Even if I didn't get that tip, but I saw it because I saw him with his S rank axes and insane bases. And then I looked him up on the FE wiki, and he has a ridiculous growths, like amazing growths and amazing HP. So I was planning on capturing him anyway, but thank you for telling me to get him, and I did. And he just became a late game star. He's so good. Gazak is so good. I feel like these paralogs should be taken place at the end, where the children units who already get XP pretty quickly become level 10, so they have 5 levels to get their final skill in their class, which is really easy to get. And the bosses that are like, and Gazak was just amazing. His levels scale up. The difficulty scales up as you go, so the later you go get children, the better they are, and the better the enemies are, and the more potential for power you have for capturing happens. So that's what I did. Captured Gazak, and then he was just unstoppable. He was amazing. Man, Gazak is probably the best capturable villain ever. What I really liked about this, and what I was really hoping about the Forest, what really made me intrigued by Forest was the dynamic that Leo had with his son. I found that Leo's reluctance to accept Forest for being like metrosexual was a really interesting way to explore the trap character, because in the past, Fire Emblem uses the trap trope but I don't really remember them going into big detail about the sort of implications of being a metrosexual, like a feminine looking male character. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really remember anyone bringing to light Lucius's hair or feminine, look. Maybe I have to read the supports again. And I find it's a very interesting change from, okay, I have to read Libra's supports, but for me, it came off like they recognized that Libra was the trap character, but he kind of just was like understood to be the trap character, and he was like, this is the trap character. But for Forrest, it's like, this is the trap character, and this is a natural reaction from Leo's character to be like, you are my son, and I am disappointed in the way you dress, and you look like a girl, and I just don't like you for that reason. And I was actually really intrigued by the way they decided to explore and dig into the trap trope, was actually having Leo, his father, be aware of his tendencies and being disappointed in him. I thought that was really cool and very realistic and very relatable for me, because I consider myself kind of a low-key, kind of conservative person. And if I had a son who dressed like Forrest did, and I had a son who loved wearing pink and loved having, these doing feminine things, I would be like, I wouldn't approve of it. I don't think so. I'd be kind of disappointed that my son decided to do... I mean, of course, I would still love my son, but I would be a little cheesed that he decided to do these sort of things. That's me as a person. That's me personally. So that's why Leo's reluctance to accept Forrest resonates with me, is because, first of all, I like Leo's character. I like his snarkiness. It reflects on me. And I wouldn't be as extreme about it as Leo would, calling him a disgrace and stuff. But that's Leo's character. And, what I was really hoping, and what kind of disappoints me a slight bit about their dynamic, is that it takes only the ending chapter for Leo to turn around and vow to become a better father. What I think would be really interesting for their dynamic would be, since Elise is in this chapter saying, like, you have to start accepting your son more because he's my nephew. That's how it works. Yeah, he's my nephew. Like, I want you to accept your son more because he deserves it. He deserves a father that accepts him. I think it would be really interesting if Leo reluctantly accepted Forrest to be in the party. Because Elise wouldn't shut up about it. And the supports between Leo and Forrest wouldn't be, at the beginning of the chapter, I don't like you, you're a disgrace. At the end of the chapter, I do like you, you're not a disgrace. I want to be a better father. I think it would be really, really fantastic for Leo's character and for Forrest's character, and for the game, for the sake of the game's like seemingly good streaks of supports, yet bad ones, to have their C to A, or maybe even a special A+ conversation where Leo still, doesn't like Forrest being around, but then he sees Forrest's capabilities as a healer or as a unit on his army, and he learns, like, you know what, I was wrong. In the last support conversation, Leo asks for Forrest's forgiveness and vows to be a better father then. And that's where I think the huge jump in Leo's character and supports would be a thing, where Forrest becomes like this pillar for Leo to develop around, and so Leo Leo's character would blossom very greatly from Forrest's personality, and Leo becoming a better father from that. I think that would be fantastic. What I really like in supports is when there's one character learning something or becoming a better person from the other character's interactions, or they're both becoming better. What I really don't like about a lot of supports is that neither character moves morally. They kind of stand still. And with Leo's and Forrest's, I think it was a missed opportunity, because they set it up so well. They set it up like Elise is like, Leo, get your shit together, like, accept your son. And I feel like Leo would be like, okay, you can come with me. We'll see how it works. We'll see if it works out. And if it doesn't work out, you go back to the out route. And then Leo develops and becomes a better father and a better character and a more, open, like an open to Forrest's, mannerisms and habits. I think that would be a fantastic way for Leo to develop. The conversations are still fine. Like Leo accepting, beginning the process of accepting Forrest is still a fine support. I still enjoy Forrest's character, and I really was surprised because I thought they were just going to be like, this is the trap, that's it. But no, they actually explore the trap trope in Forrest, and I was really impressed with that. I was really pleased to see. It was a really nice change, and I really like Forrest as a character. And that was one of the characters I thought I was really going to hate. I thought they were just going to be like, this looks like Mirabelle. This is like a Mirabelle clone who has no character outside of being the trap. But no, they actually went with it, and I was really impressed. I wish there was more to it, but I'm happy with what they tried. It was very real. It was very relatable, and it resonated with me well because I feel like I would be in a similar, less severe, but similar position if I was Leo in that spot. So yeah, I really liked that paralogue because I captured and I rescued the thing, and I planned ahead. I adjusted my strategy to make it not as unfair, and it worked out. And then I did chapter 20. I think I did Sigbert's chapter, because then at that point, Mozu learned Bowfair. So then when Mozu learned Bowfair at level 15, I reclassed her into a Bow Knight. And as a Bow Knight, she gets more res, and then she learns the process of becoming a ranger and getting the skills required to get Shuriken Breaker by like level 19 or something. So then I ended up beating Sigbert's paralogue, which is still really tough. And that was that. You know what? No, I beat Sigbert's paralogue after I beat chapter 24, because I remember having Leo totally trashing as a sorcerer, totally trashing everyone, all the generals and stuff. Sigbert seems like an okay character. He seems like a nice, polite guy. A fitting son to, I think it's a fitting son to Xander. Speaking of characters in the children and the relationships, like the father-son relationship, I guess we can cover that too. Forrest and Leo was my favorite. It leaves room to be desired. Xander and Sigbert was pretty believable. Sigbert grew up relatively by himself. He is a good-natured person. Like, he's very noble. He's a very noble guy, which makes Xander really proud of him, a proud son. Benny and Ignatius is Ignatius is a weird character. He's the kind of trope of a character that I guess is a kind of a new thing for Fire Emblem. I think it started with, maybe I'm wrong here, I think it started with who's the son of the Tagel in Awakening? What was her name? I forget his name, but he came off as a serious looking soldier beast dude, and he ends up being this really like fidgety, like kind of a bitch unit, despite his his look. So that trope seems kind of like a relatively new thing, where like there's a character who behaves completely unlike you'd expect him to, and I don't really like it that much. It seems kind of silly, where their character doesn't really match what they look like. Same thing with it's like Effie's. It's like in Effie's case, but in Effie, it feels like it's more unintentional. Like, it wasn't her. Like, the reason she's like that wasn't because like they wanted her to be like a character who looks like sincere and quiet, but ends up being like a total like meathead. That was just because they decided to change her VA to something super unfitting and stupid. With Ignatius, it's like he's trying to become a knight. Like, he's trying to become like a brave person like his father was, but he can't seem to like get over the hump of like actually facing the problems. Like, he battles with himself, like, I have to protect them, but I can't, and I'm so scared. I like that, but sometimes they really push it. Like, I like Ignatius because I like Benny a lot, and I like Benny his whole quiet giant thing, like the gentle giant of Benny. But the bug thing was, come on, Ignatius, get your shit together, man. Like, his fidgety character is believable until the whole bug thing, where he's afraid of bugs. I understand that people hate bugs, but like, come on, dude, don't do that. Don't fall into that stupid, quirky pest fear thing. Like, don't fall into that. Like, you're better than that, Ignatius. I think that's when it was pushing it. But even though Benny is afraid of ghosts, I feel like that's way more believable, because paranormal activity is way more, being afraid of paranormal activity is way more believable than being afraid of fucking beetles and shit. Like, come on, Ignatius. Aside from that, I like Ignatius's character. I turned him into a Wyvern Rider, or Wyvern Lord, and he learned Savage Blow, and he had Strength +2, he had Defense +2. He was really solid for me. He was a really solid flyer for me, because he had C rank and lances, so he could use Beast Killer, and Camilla couldn't use Beast Killer. So for the chapter 24 and the paralogue for Forest, he was really helpful for being a flying tank with Beast Killer. So their relationship is okay. I like Ignatius. I really like Benny as a character. Kana, kind of like nauseatingly adorable in like not a good way. I feel like I haven't read her supports, but she's just like, how do I explain this? For lack of a better term, she's too cute. To the point where like her character is like, like, this is a dragon noise. Yeah, I'm so cute. No. Like, I get it. You're a fucking cute kid. Shut up. And there's one part in the paralogue where Corrin comes out of nowhere, and he totally has this really, really jarring character switch where he's like, you won't touch my daughter, I'll kill you all. It's like, whoa, Corrin, what are you? Like, this is so unlike you as a character. Like, I guess they tried to make it come off like Corrin is a really good father figure, but it's like another thing where like this kid is all ideals and no personality. So when he does these things that breaks his ideal based personality, it's like really jarring. It's like, are you serious? Like, you are this dedicated to your daughter? Like, I don't even like know this person, and you do not come off someone who comes off this aggressive. He comes off as someone who would say, don't, like, I will protect you, you're my daughter, I love you for that, and I won't let them touch you. Not this crazy hyper aggressive like, I'll kill you all, blah blah. It's like, this is another thing where it's like, this kid who's all ideals, when he does things that are out of his character, that's already very blank slate. It's like very jarring stuff. And as a character, she's just like an overly cute dragon girl, I guess. People are into that shit. I don't fucking know. Kana's okay, I guess. Too cute for me. Who else? There's Forrest, Sigbert, Shigeru. Shigeru's nice. Shigeru's a nice character. The funny thing is with these paralogues, it's all assuming that you can accept the fact that they're just going the complete opposite direction of where they are right now in the world for these paralogues. So, I mean, I guess that's something that you have to just deal with and just be like, okay, we'll believe this happened, or we'll make it sensical, I guess. I don't know. It's, if you get over that hump and you just deal with the dialogue itself, it's fine, I guess. And the last kids I covered were Nina. Niles and Nina, with Elise as the mother. It was okay. Nina is Nina's funny. She has this like Robin Hood-esque thing that's like really overplayed, I find. Like, she seems like she's, maybe this is just me like getting an impression of her. It seems like she's being told that she should be a Robin Hood character by her friends that she made in the Outrealm, rather than kind of learning it herself. But her paralogue was okay. It's really easy paralogue to beat. She can't even escape that far in. I didn't get the Shining Bow though, because the thieves got it. But I killed the adventurer with who stole the gold and who had what was the other item? The partner seal. I got that too. I feel like Nina is a really, really, really vital endgame unit. And if anything, I would suggest getting Nina towards the end, probably around after chapter 23 or 24, because she helps so much when she has Lock Touch and Elise has the mother and a dual Yumi. She can't be touched by sorcerers at all. So I suggest that you have Elise as the mother. She gets a really amazing res boosts, buffs, or res bases as an adventurer. She has C rank and staffs, so she can use all the status staffs she wants. And, she's just really good. I suggest getting forests at around the end game at the same time. So Gazak is a beast. If you're doing the capturing, then I suggest that. I don't really see a need for other capturable villains. You can probably do well by capturing an adventurer in her thing too. It might help to capture Nicole for chapter 24. I didn't do the other paralogue, so I'm gonna do those just to see how it is. The only paralogue I can't get would be Percy, because Arthur died. In terms of casualties, was there? I feel like there was another paralogue I did. No, that was it. So yeah, I'll show you guys the screenshots. I'll put them up right here of my endgame stats, my endgame team. I'm actually going to put timestamps on this podcast, because I know it's going to be a very long, potentially 3-hour podcast. So I won't. I'll put spaces in the things where you want to see things you care about. So let's see. Let's see my endgame units here. This is the wrong one. I restarted on hard mode because I was thinking of maybe doing a second run through in a difficulty that is just as challenging but also fun. So without the crazy lunatic bullshit, just to see a more natural experience to Conquest. Continue, save. Let's yeah. Okay, so let's check out my team here. Let's lower the volume here. So here is my finishing team. I have Gast as a hero at level 20. He has Supportive, Draconic Hex, Soul, Luna, Strong Riposte, and Elbow Room. He has, as you can see, he has crazy skill. As you can see here, he has... Actually, you know what? I should try to record this. I'll just say it. He has he has cap skill at 38. He has a para +5 with Mozu. Wow. And he has a tonic, I think. Yeah. So a really huge amount of skill. I'll just cover bases though. So yeah, that's him. He's really good. Mozu, level 20. Iron Bow +2, Setsuno's Yumi, Crescent Bow. I bought that just in case. Didn't really use it that much. The Illusory Yumi and the Hunter's Bow. And the Hunter's Bow is a really clutch thing because it came by as a bonus item that someone picked up in my base, and that came really useful to take out that beast, that horseman with the beast killer in Takumi's last stand. So I was really happy that I got that. That was a really sick pickup. Her skills are Certain Blow, Skill +2, Quick Draw, Bow Fair, and Shuriken Breaker. So she was really good for the end game, taking dodge tanking the Master Ninjas. Azura ended up at level 39, probably level 40, after fighting Garon and shit like that. She capped strength, skill, and speed, has 37 luck, and 10 defense, so she was fucking amazing as a combat unit, but I never used her as one. She was stuck with E rank in spears because I just wasn't planning on using her for anything other than dancing. Camilla was my other level 20. She capped. Her skills were, as a Wyvern Lord, she had Rally Defense, Swordbreaker, Strength +2, Lunge, and Savage Blow. So she had A rank. I picked up a Baraka's axe from base again, just at random. That was a random pickup. So I had 2 Baraka's axes. That was cool. I made a Kale's axe, which was a steel axe for her. I feel like steel axes are way better than, forged steel is way better than buying silver stuff. I feel like it's more economical. She didn't cap. Let's see. She capped strength at 34. She didn't cap skill. She maybe capped defense. No, she had base value 27. Wow. So yeah, with Effie, she gets +5 defense. Wow. Who else? Xander was level 18 and he did not cap by the end game. His skills were defender, elbow room, pavise. No, this is Aegis and shelter. And I don't think he capped anything really. Xander stayed level 18. He was still very solid for me. Gazak capped at level 20 because he got XP very fast. He has S rank and X's. His skills are Pavise, which is useful, Good Fortune, and with the 3 luck boosts, goddess icons I gave him, he had 22 luck, so that was less than 1/4 of a chance to proc Good Fortune. Where is it, Good Fortune? What is it, 20% of HP? Oh, I took it off. Right, I took it off, never mind. This is HP +5, never mind. HP +5, Axe Fair, and Gamble. So this guy, his skill is already 30, which is capped. He has capped skill at 30, so he can get +10. So even if he loses hit +10, he's already 30, and like he gets certain blows. So even with Gamble, he's has 40+ hit when he's critting. It's like, what the fuck? Gazag, you're so good, man. 42 base strength. That's insane, man. He was so good. 69 HP as a final thing, man. Great club, amazing bases. He's such a fantastic unit. Give him luck, and he's unstoppable. Tomo, who's my girl, my new wife. She is, oh god, she's so good, man. She was so clutch. A Pegasus Knight with pass, so a flying pass user with B rank and A rank and staves. Give me a break. She was she carried Corrin to the end. I love Tomo. She's my, I actually enlarged her card or whatever. I did that to her. Ignatius was pretty solid. He ended up at level 16, so he got like 5 or 6 level ups after getting promoted. He got Swordbreaker. He got Luna from being a great knight. Defense +2 and strength +2. So he was kind of, I feel like if he got to level 20, he'd be super clutch. He's really good strength and really good defense and pretty solid speed, actually. Even though, yeah, 25 base speed with the pair up with Nina. So really solid. I got 2 Arthur's Axes, which is interesting. Who's next? Nina, who ended up being my late game superstar. She became a total res tank. Like, at least as the mom, I guess she gets more res. She has 32 base res at level 15. Resistance +2. So she gets resistance +2 from Elise. As an adventurer, so her base resistance is amazing, and her dual Yumi gives her +2 resistance to boot. So she just became a mage killer. Like she couldn't be touched. She's super fast. 32 base speed. Like, give me a break. Nina was solid as a late game star with lock touch. Give me a break here. Sorcerer Leo capped. He has Heartseeker, which helps for his hit rate. Life Taker, which makes him a tank. Seal Magic, which nerfs other sorcerers. Bowbreaker, which didn't really do anything towards the end, but still really solid. And Vengeance, which I really liked, but this is interesting because it's skill stat times 1.5. So he has really low skill, but if you pair him up with Kana, then he gets more skill. Also, Heartseeker helps him out. He was pretty solid. He thrashed Hinoka. Hinoka's chapter. He soloed that. He was big time. Shigur helped. He ended up level 15, so he gained 5 levels, and he got Amaterasu, which didn't really do much because he got it really late in the game. He was just a really solid candidate for the Beast Killer, and he had bows, so he helped a lot for Hinoka's chapter. He came in through big time, helped a lot to get Ignatius good, or just get Ignatius in general. He was pretty solid, man. He helped. He was a good role player. He was definitely a good role player. Effie ended up level not that high actually. Effie only ended up level 13, and I don't think I even waited to promote her. And she was okay. She was really solid at the beginning, but then she really started to fall off because of defense. Like the combination of her lackluster speed, which makes sense because she had wary fighter, but her defense is only base 27, and I was expecting something bigger. And in this game, I feel like it's more important to have more defense than offense, sort of. I mean, that's not really true, but in a case of a general, I would rather her have a better defense stat than what she ended up getting. Yeah, I stopped using her after chapter 19, I'm pretty sure, because Benny was just outmatching her in terms of usability as a general. Because Benny has a godly amount of defense. So Benny, with the guard Naginata, was super clutch. He has 37 base value of defense, and defense +2, which gives him naturally 39 defense, which is really high. If he gets the guard Naginata, it gets to like 40 something, and the highest attack stat that the enemies has is usually around like 40. Might get to like 50 if they have life and death, but that's pretty much it. So Benny can always tank. He's so clutch. He helped me out so much, and he has a great support unit because he has really high defense buffs awarded to other units, like Camilla, who S ranked with him. So she got a lot of benefits from pairing up with Benny. Benny was clutch master. His strength is kind of not that great, but for a general, it's like he did the job. He took hits. He was my wall. He did a great job. He finished off level 13. Silas only finished off level 5 as a paladin because I felt like he was really falling behind, because I was just, I don't know. He stayed pretty solidly balanced. I mean, he has good balanced stats, but he was just getting out leveled, and he just started to fall behind. So he finished off as a level 5 paladin. Elise, she ended up as a level 8 maid because I reclassed her into a maid as I said, to get S rank in staff, so she could use Bifrost in case someone died for Yago's chapter, that's what happened. So she did her role fine. She was like my long range staff bot. Pretty solid. Good. I know rally resistance is pretty helpful, but when you get the rally man, it doesn't really matter. And Niles, I actually neglected Niles for a long time until I started to realize I should really start capturing units, because there is going to be opportunities like the past Pegasus where I need Niles. So I started to feed him a lot, and I fed him a lot towards chapter 22 and all the paralogues. I just got him to a point where I think I promoted him at level 17 as an outlaw. Got him to an adventurer, and I honestly wanted to get him to promote him so we can have more strength and skill to have a higher chance to capture, because he only ended up at level 6 as an adventurer. So he filled his niche perfectly, did what he had to do. As you can see, he has the rubber bow, so it's 100% hit rate, which is pretty solid. He's okay. I feel like if I use him a lot, he'd be a certified badass sorcerer killer. Forrest, he was okay. He did his role too as a staff bot. He was very close to C ranking in Shuriken, which would give him the flame Shuriken, but since he didn't, it was all right. He wasn't really a combat efficient guy. He was just another staff bot. Realistically, I could have changed him to a troubadour, and that would do the same thing. Debuffs are always nice, and I was looking for someone to be my Shuriken user, and Forrest would be the best candidate, but he ended up just sticking to being I know he did some debuffs. I shouldn't say that. He helped somewhat, but for the most part, he was another staff bot, had good skills. He was decent. He did his job. And Ren, who is my master of arms rally man, was solid. He didn't do much except for doing his job, and sometimes he did sometimes he fought, because obviously he got 2 levels up because he got duelist blow. He was great. He was super helpful. He did what he had to do, as you can see, what a rally bot is supposed to do, and he did his job. He did his job perfectly. Then there was Odin, who I just didn't use at all. I feel like, no, he was just useless. Kana ended up a level 15 Nor Noble, which isn't bad, but that means she only got 10 level ups. Or 5 level ups. She was helpful. She was a good support unit, but honestly, she was just whatever. Sigbert did sort of the same thing, where he was good for some chapters. He got Foreign Princess because Azura learned it, and that was the last skill she got during the Sigbert chapter. So he got Foreign Princess. I don't even know if he could actually use that because he's a guy, but maybe he can. It just didn't end up being very useful because I kind of only used him specifically for Yago, I think. I deployed him for Yago's chapter so he could shelter Azura and then bring Azura over quickly to Corrin after he unlocked that door to get either Corrin or someone else to get to whoever got entrapped in chapter 26. Kaze, I tried to see if he could be usable, but his defense was just so shit. Or his strength was just so shit. Like, I just ended up not using him at all. He's a cool unit though, but he has base 12, so fuck that noise. Perry didn't use her. Charlotte didn't use her. Jacob didn't use her. Nyx didn't use her. Laszlo barely used him. Hinoka was good. Hinoka was back in the front lines for chapter 23, so he could rally defense. So Xander would have a better chance of surviving the stairway Great Wall thing. Sophie was just not used at all. I thought I was going to use her, but she just wasn't there. Wasn't really doing well enough to do anything. She has a good personal skill though. I feel like she's really good. I feel like she's a better unit than Sigbert. I guess depending on the father or the mother, but yeah. Izana I never used because I felt like Rally Luck and Rally Magic were just not really useful because Leo already had insanely high magic. And aside from that, I was just not really psyched to use Izana that much. And Selena was only good for supporting Leo until Leo got a kid, and then Gunter wasn't used at all. So, see for yourself. Consider if I cheesed the game with grinding XP. I feel like, a lot of my core team, obviously, that I used the most, got to 20. But they were just pre-promotes. Like, they were already pre-promotes, so they already had a head start. Mozu already gets experience really fast. And the rest of my units were either at 16 or under, so... And Xander didn't even get to 20, so there you go. Yeah, you don't really need to promote at level 20. I feel like there's this really big misconception that you have to go 20-20 all the time for maximum stats. But what people don't realize is that you are never going to be in a situation in any Fire Emblem game where you need to be 20-20. Like, you just don't need to ever be 20-20. You will not get, especially if you wait till level 20 to promote all your units, you will never get them to 20-20 at all. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, once you promote, your experience gains plummet dramatically. Or once you, it's just, you don't need to get there because you could use the benefits of promoting a unit and their promotion buffs right then and there. Like, you can wait, sure, but you can make the future, the next chapters easier for yourself if you just promote them. You are never going to get to 20-20. Like, it's very rare if you decide not to grind that you're going to get to 20-20. But no game if Conquest Lunatic doesn't require you to get to 20-20, I really don't feel like you need to. And every time I've played Fire Emblem, I have never had a full lineup of units that got to 20-20. It's just never necessary. Like, I promoted at around 15. All my units at around level 15 or 17 at most. I did not wait for 20. And in fact, the only units I did wait for 20 was Silas and Effie, and they ended up not even being useful past a certain point. So I feel like there is a misconception that you should wait for 20-20. 15 is all right. 15 is passable because the closer you promote, the closer you get to better skills, right? So there you go. The closer you promote, the closer you get to skills that your units can get, and the closer that happens, then the sooner you can reclass units into other units and get more skills from that. So that's why I suggest you shouldn't wait for 20-20. You don't really need to ever, especially, look, you can be Conquest 20-20, or you can be Conquest without 20-20. That said, yeah, that was pretty much my squad. I guess if a next playthrough, another challenge would be not using bonus items, but fuck that noise. I don't know how you could do that. There's so many chapters where I relied on bonus items that I don't know if it's even possible without going crazy, especially in Lunatic. I'm sure people have done it before, but, I still want to have fun, right? And that was Lunatic Conquest. I was so pleased when I beat this game. I put in a lot of time into it. Very happy I finally got it over with. Yeah, it felt really good. Felt really good, man. And I guess I'll just say thank you so much once again for paying attention and listening to my opinions and listening to and dedicating hours on end to my content. Even just listening, it feels great to be able to talk to you guys and just state my opinions. It feels really great to have a platform like this. So if you want to see me do more Conquest content, let me know. I'll see what happens. But right now, I'm thinking I might take a little break from Conquest. Take a little break from 3DS. Try to get back to my ROM hack, and try to get back to Tearing Saga, which I really owe a large amount of dedication to, because there's still lots of chapters to go, and I've kind of slept on that. And instead of playing TRS, I've been focusing on Fates. But now since Fates is done for now, I'm gonna get back into the whole TRS grind and hopefully get far enough in that game. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I love you all, and I will catch you guys next time. Deuces.